Back in the day, the story goes that God put up a wall to test humanity. This magic wall split the whole dang continent and threw the world into total chaos. That's when people started facing off against these nightmare monsters, creatures straight out of hell itself. Tons of settlements got wiped off the map by these relentless beasts with insane power. The world was already screwed, and then even more people started vanishing inside the wall for no reason. The tears of folks doomed to suffer from losing loved ones soaked every corner of the continent. Right when the world was about to go down the drain, this dude people called a hero showed up out of nowhere. Fearless Carlos Arthur Ingram didn't back down, even when staring into the darkness that had swallowed the world. He used his crazy skills to save the continent, and then straight up founded his own empire, Kalleta. That's when the war started. Hundreds of years later, all this went down in the peaceful Kalleta Empire. The Countess showing up out of nowhere? That screamed something major was wrong to the Emperor. Rustica Janis, a first-rank knight of the Empire, held the title of a genius sword mage. We've been at war with the wall for centuries, but the monsters keep coming and people keep vanishing. On the last raid, the knights were short-handed, and they ended up sacrificing the soldiers' kids. Turns out, that battle tactic just wasn't cutting it for the Imperial squad anymore. So, Rustica figured the best move would be for the Kalleta Empire to cross the wall. In that instant, the girl was beyond the reach of the dark forces that were telling her to shut her mouth. The Empire's top knight didn't realize how arrogant she sounded, spouting garbage like that. Rustica pissed off the great emperor, and now she's caught in his raging wrath, 'cause she's lost everything. Her insane sword and magic skills, her honor, and the knight title she worked her ass off for. All that support from the fans who looked up to her, everything she had, gone. Time for this girl to wake up. From now on, it's just a dark reality for her. Rustica's eyes snapped open. Another freaking nightmare she's sick of. She'd pounded way too many back at Uncle Ben's tavern last night. Her head was so foggy from the hangover, it was a miracle she even noticed she woke up with a dude. Mortifying flashbacks from the night before immediately started flooding back. Rustica Janis couldn't believe feeling so alone had messed her up this badly. She decided to write off that reckless, stupid night as a one-time thing. Bolting in the morning felt shameful, but she seriously needed to bail. Hearing the door slam shut, the guy woke up alone in an empty apartment. Seriously, Rustica never thought she'd be nursing a hangover from hell on a day this beautiful. She was so ashamed of herself, she couldn't even look anyone in the eye. The rumors going around were that she never left the house unless she was completely hammered. Nobody understood how the young woman, who used to be so great with their kids, ended up like this. And she was wondering the same thing. She was damn curious about her own life. Rustica'd rather be an outcast than see the disappointment in everyone's faces. She didn't want the word getting around that Miss Jeans had lost all her mojo overnight and was now living in the woods. All she could do was try to act like she didn't exist. That way, everyone would eventually forget about her. It was the best option. Finally getting back home, she decided to take her medicine as soon as possible. She was convinced she was losing it, because she'd never taken risks like this before. Exhausted, she flopped onto the bed, cringing at how mortified she was. She was supposed to keep a low profile, not get hammered at Uncle Vince's, and drunkenly blab to everyone. With those thoughts, Rustica crashed out and didn't wake up until night, sensing something weird. Grabbing her sword, she stepped outside to check the energy, which felt like a wild animal. The whole place reeked of blood, meaning the beast was close. Following her natural hunter instincts, she found the spot where the smell was strongest. Deep in the woods, some mysterious dude had taken down 2 bears at once and was now making himself scarce. The heroine had to make sure who this badass fighter really was. But when Rue saw his face, it was the same guy she'd spent all of last night with. The heroine had no freaking clue what this guy was doing here. He was definitely asleep when she left, so it crossed her mind that he'd been tailing her. Pissed off, the girl demanded he explain what the hell was going on. Turns out, she just didn't remember sharing bread with him when they were kids. He even thought she only gave bread to him. You could hear the disappointment in his voice, since others got chocolate from Milady too. That stung way worse than any wound, because it was hard to believe she didn't remember a thing. In that moment, an image popped into her head, the boy soldier she'd seen in the wall, and she had the nerve to ditch that same kid, wounding his feelings. After all these years of searching nonstop, the Lord was so damn happy to see her again. Even with his injuries, the kid figured something was off last night, chalking it up to being green. Yesterday was his first time, but he promised to do better so the lady wouldn't ditch him. Whether from embarrassment or his wounds, the guy just face-planted right onto her, out cold. After all that, she had to haul his butt back to her place and patch him up. If he was a normal dude, he'd have croaked from internal bleeding ages ago, even for a knight from the Imperial Order. Taking down 2 bears nearly barehanded is a tall order. If they really met at the wall, then Rue was a knight back then, and she was 18. Even though her memory's hazy, even then, his face stood out from the crowd. But the kid was just a little shrimp, so she figured she was losing it. She wasn't expecting to run into him, since it's unlikely he lost all his powers in one shot too. The handsome dude woke up, eyes popping open, and couldn't look away from his girl. He was so freaking gorgeous that Rue could barely breathe. Worried this guy might be some spy sent by the Emperor, she told him to get lost. But he was smiling way too nicely, and was grateful for being saved, even though she was acting totally nuts. Despite being pretty much broken, he got to his feet and started checking out her place. The weirder he acted, the more Rustica started wondering about him. I mean, only a psycho would go after bears, let alone 2 of them with just a sword. Right now, that didn't even matter to the guy, because they were finally together. He was so bummed when she left before. Now that he'd found her again, he wasn't going anywhere. Not feeling the same way, she figured the night they spent together was a mistake. The dude spent the night with her because he was into her, and now his heart straight up shattered. So, naturally, he demanded the girl say his name. Turns out, the guy's name was Hayden Constant Rustana Beller. But Rue wasn't about to spill the beans. Ever since they parted ways at the wall, the girl had been living there for 4 years. Since she was digging the place and hadn't even left once, Hayden decided to move there too. Yesterday was his first time, and he wanted to take responsibility for it. Because he was being such a pain, Rue remembered he used to have white hair. That was because he tried crossing the wall a bunch of times, back when it was still intact. The Kalleta Empire, which they were loyal to, wasn't the only game in town anymore. The girl was sure that wall was unbreachable, a straight-up miracle of nature. That thing's so freaking high, you couldn't climb it if you tried, and it's made of some kind of weird stuff. While he was shopping at the market, the shop owner suddenly recognized the girl as someone from the Kalleta Empire. He'd heard some rumors from a trader about the wall being breached, but he thought it was total BS. So the old guy asked if he'd been drinking at Ben's, because that dude's got some serious hooch. That's the second outsider who's come along saying the wall's been busted through. If that was actually the case, Rue couldn't even imagine how huge this war had gotten. This was no joke, and it was making her head spin, but she was too exhausted to care anymore. Hayden had waited so long to meet this girl, but his dreams were crushed when he found out she remembered nothing. The kid couldn't even picture what that bastard Carlos had done to her. Good thing he got mauled by that bear. Gives him a solid excuse to stick around Rubles for longer. Just then, a messenger bird flew into the house, even though Hayden figured it wouldn't find him. Judging by the message, Carlos didn't get the full picture yet, because people were gonna start pouring through that breach. So, the master decided to stay out of it. He wasn't exactly thrilled about running into that bastard. Now wasn't the time to worry about the Emperor. A much more important person needed his attention. The hero of Kalleta and his savior, Rustica Janis, the one the master wanted to snatch up. Hayden's wounds were healing surprisingly fast. His bones were knitting back together at a freaky rate, and he was getting his color back. Whenever the girl started getting suspicious, Hayden would just smile and say the wall had given him his strength back. Seemed like his recovery was in Rue's best interest, since he chopped wood like a beast and wasn't afraid of work. But our girl wasn't exactly stoked about him showing up. This wasn't the happy ending she was hoping for. Clearly, this dude was super shady, and this whole thing ain't over yet. With his strength and healing powers, she knew the army should have snatched him up years ago. Used to living solo, she never even realized she was lonely. Before long, a messenger showed up from the master. They were digging the bear hide. They offered her 50 coins per pelt, so there was no way she could say no. The guy paid her in cash as soon as she arrived. Turns out, he was also clued in on what was going down in the Kalleta Empire. Swore it was legit intel. The whole thing felt like another freaking war was about to kick off. Rumor has it a monster king showed up beyond the wall, a drop-dead gorgeous dude with black hair. The description matched Hayden, but there's no way that's possible. The rumors about the wall cracking weren't just hot air, but she needed to see it for herself. So I decided to head to the north wall. Time to go home and pack my stuff. I ran off here because I couldn't take the way people looked at me after I lost my powers. As I was trekking through the woods, I was super surprised to see Hayden there. I told him I got paid for those bear hides. Enough to get me out of here. He thought it was a good idea for Emmy to leave, but that money was for him. I still didn't have a clue what the hell that guy wanted from me. Living in this world just sucked. I was done dealing with it. Hayden thought things were bad enough already. Why was I being so reckless? It was just one night, so I didn't think much of our little hookup. And if we ever ran into each other again, he could just pretend he didn't know me. If that's what the heroine wanted, Hayden was ready to back off right then and there. The master left his lady in peace. They'd be seeing each other soon enough. This weird chain of events just wasn't adding up in the heroine's head. When Rustica got back, Hayden was gone without a trace, like he'd never been there at all. Sifting through all the possibilities, the girl figured he had to be a mage. and a powerful one at that, to teleport his whole body. She barely had time to enjoy the sound of silence when she suddenly heard footsteps. On the other side of the door, someone ordered the Empire of Kalleta's knight to come out and receive orders. Reluctantly opening the door, the girl saw Aldwin Rochester on the doorstep. He came bearing good news. His Imperial Majesty summoned the girl to return to Kalleta after chugging a whole can of beer out of anger. Rustica flat out refused to go to the Empire. She'd rather be thought of as dead from booze than go back to the guy who mocked her. The Emperor's sentence? Ship Countess Rustica off to the Persetan Empire as a diplomat. And now she's supposed to be grateful for this opportunity? Seriously? It's not like it was her dream or anything. Since Rue was already 25, Aldwin suggested she see it as a chance to start a new career. No political agreement is going to happen when Perseta keeps sending monsters our way. Even though it was hard for her to accept, things actually weren't all that bad. Plus, the master asked to go with her as security. Rustica may not have had a family, but she didn't want to go to some barbaric country full of monsters. Turns out, His Majesty cared so much about the girl that he knew exactly where she was. Aldwin's face was unbearable. He's a fanatic who'll always follow Carlos. Back in the day, when Rustica was an Imperial Knight, she was just like that too. She was the one who wanted to go beyond the wall more than anyone, and now she's got her shot. Once she made up her mind, the heroine knew she'd die alone in that shack, or beyond the wall. Didn't make a difference. Rue packed up pretty quick. She'd been living like she could bolt at any second. If she could, she was planning on going back there. After all, that's her home. For a mission like this, His Majesty personally gave the guy a translocation stone. The magic stone's power enveloped the heroes and opened a path to teleport them to the Khatat Imperial Palace. Arriving in the capital of the Kalleta Empire, right in front of the Khatat Palace gates, Rue saw the breach for the first time. It was just unbelievable. A huge section of the wall was completely smashed through. That's exactly why the Emperor summoned the first-rank knight to the Khatat Imperial Palace throne room. After all these years, she was back sooner than she thought. Months bled into years until she finally came face-to-face with Carlos Arthur. The Empire hadn't seen anything like this, so the boss was totally thrown. Nobody had a clue what that country even looked like, making the diplomat's job crucial. Rustica had to go there and find her people. His Majesty also ordered her to figure out how they're making monsters and send him reports. The other side's guide was already waiting, so she was told to hurry. Turns out, all Rue was getting in return was a decent salary. Still, she didn't have a choice but to do everything she could. She was convinced the Emperor called her specifically, knowing her parents disappeared beyond the wall. This hastily thrown-together group of Kalleta diplomats sent to the Perseta Empire? Just 4 people. First, there's Rustica Janis, a diplomat, ex-knight, and genius sword mage, who's now lost her powers. Then there's her bodyguard and confidant, Viscount Melbaro Aldwin Rochester. The third is Eliza Barkova, an Imperial Order Knight, and finally, a servant to keep things running. Aldwin volunteered himself, so Rue was pretty sure she was being watched. The heroine was blown away by Eliza's swordsmanship and surveillance skills, meaning she could be an assassin. Martin worked in the Imperial Palace, so he was definitely one of Carlos's guys. Rustica's surrounded by people who are totally loyal to the Emperor. This trip was going to be a nightmare. She wouldn't be able to relax for a second. With all the preparations finally done, the Imperial Knights set off. Their goal was Divine Schism. They were headed to the other side of the wall. Before stepping into that other country, it felt like they were going to the afterlife. Alvin was ready, because he was going there for a better life. He'd heard rumors that some of their people had already arrived. The naive kid was convinced the other side offered a truce, not a death wish. Most people figured they were getting weaker, so they made a deal. Classic thinking from someone who thinks Kalleta is the center of the universe. It was obvious to Rue. Now, as ordered from above, the brave heroes had to go into the Dark Schism. Everything was already decided, so Rustica chose to enjoy the simple chance to cross the wall. The world hidden behind the Divine Wall blew the Imperial Knights' minds. They found themselves on a crystal bridge leading to the gates of another reality entirely. This was nothing like what Aldwin had seen from the other side. Everything around them could be an illusion, so Rustica told him to watch what he said. Representatives from the Perseta Empire were already waiting for them at the other end of the crystal bridge. Simon Keinberg, Count Palatine, was sent by His Majesty, the Emperor of the Perseta Empire. They prepared a carriage for Lady Rustica Janis, her 2 escorts, and her valet. Expectations that there would be monsters behind the wall were shattered by the bright reality. Ultimately, the atmosphere turned out to be pretty chill. Not much different from Kalleta. The small town sprawling on the summit was the fortress of Perseta. The capital, Shaley. Rustica found herself in a completely different world, one that captivated with its beauty and expanse. It wasn't long before they reached Shaley's Imperial Palace. The Khatat Imperial Palace was luxurious too, but this place was stunning from the get-go. the heroine stood before His Majesty the Emperor, surrounded by all the nobles. The son of the Kalleta Empire, the great emperor, had been waiting for his guest. His Highness radiated beauty and welcomed Lady Rustica to the palace. You couldn't mistake that flawless face. It was Hayden, one of a kind. A hole in the wall, the Kalleta Empire, the great Emperor Hayden. Rustica hoped this was all a dream. There's no way that guy ended up in that backwater town, so she figured it was just a nightmare. The Emperor Khaled, she imagined, also believed in the path of peace and harmony. According to the records, Hayden learned that Lady Rustica was from the Imperial Order of Knights and wielded magic. Magic's a no-go in the Kalleta Empire, unless you've got permission, plain and simple. Which made sense, because Hayden knew Rue couldn't use magic anyway. But she figured it was possible someone else was pulling the strings, not him. Hayden, the guy the heroine met in Calais, was all smiles and sweetness. But the Emperor's super noble and stuck up. They don't even look like the same dude, if you ask me. His Majesty figured the girl was probably having a tough time being away from home. Now she's here in Kalleta. The only thing she's got to watch out for is the booze. It's strong stuff. The Emperor said he enjoyed the meeting and hoped Lady Jeans has a great time here. The way this guy was talking? No doubt about it, that was Hayden. Right after the meeting wrapped up, Rustica got back in the carriage, and Aldwin breathed a sigh of relief. She suddenly got curious about when this kid found out she got the job. After just 2 days of thinking, the guy volunteered to tag along with her. Odds are, they started considering her way before, and Aldwin got it from his dad. 4 days ago, Hayden showed up in that no-name territory of the Momentum Kingdom. Looks like the Emperor himself went to spy on the Kalleta Empire's diplomat. Since we're done with business for today, Aldwin suggested we crash at the Kalleta Embassy. The dude thought they'd get treated like crap, but it was way better than he expected. And now our girls got this genius idea to spread rumors that Emperor Kalleta sucks in bed. As soon as they hit the embassy, a ton of work just fell on their heads. There's no way they can handle this workload, so Aldwin got assigned to hire some workers. Honestly, Rustica was surprised the embassy Kalleta provided was actually pretty decent. After writing a to-do list and checking the documents, all that was left was to exchange the money. As a former knight, she disliked the diplomatic profession from the start, and now even more so. But if she really felt that way, she wouldn't have come here in the first place. Rustica Janis has been slacking off for 4 years. Time to get her act together. Turns out, a determined attitude and fighting spirit weren't enough to make things work out. It's not easy dealing with people after so many years of being a recluse. Her thoughts were interrupted by an unfamiliar young man who showed up out of nowhere. A squad from Kalleta arrived at the house next door, where the Lord lived. He came here 4 years ago from the neighboring country of Nerva, and this was their embassy. To their right was the Soldstein embassy. They basically owned the whole street. Seeing they were new to Perset, the guy figured they'd just exchanged their cash. Rustica was actually just about to ask where she needed to go. Perset didn't have any info on Kalleta's currency right now, so he decided to give them some advice. Count Felice Keika was nice enough to offer her his card, and said she could reach out if she needed anything. As they left, he pointed the young diplomat toward the bank at the end of the street. Judging by the card, this guy was also an ambassador. Like young blood was all the rage in Perset, no one would have guessed the bank owner was going to fleece these Kalleta newcomers for all they were worth. If the Emperor found out how they were treating Kalleta's ambassador, he'd lose his damn mind. Nothing you can do. In this country, they'll always see us as the enemy. Either way, they managed to exchange the Kalleta gold at one of the banks. Perfect timing to hit the shopping district, scope out that store with the massive line. Looking at that huge crowd, Rustica was seriously curious what all the fuss was about. There was a magazine stand nearby, so she figured she'd kill some time reading a paper. Kalleta's got its official bulletin and newspaper, endlessly praising the Emperor, of course. After sifting through 100 different papers, she finally found one called Kalleta, Nation of Thieves. Our girl just had to buy a newspaper that straight up attacked the Kalleta Empire. The dude next to her wasn't feeling that third-rate rag, all buddy-buddy with the rich and hatin' on him. Hayden always showed up out of nowhere, like a bolt from the blue. Rustica, though, just kept pretending she didn't even know him. Looks like they're gonna be seeing a lot of each other, so the Emperor asked if he could act like he already knows her. The dude was so polite and considerate back at the castle, which is normal given the situation, but it still made her uncomfortable. Rustica paid for the magazines quick and got out of there fast. Alwyn went into the store ages ago, but he still hasn't come out. Hayden said everyone who goes into that store just completely loses it. All he's asking is for her to give him a little bit of her time. The guy prefers peace and quiet, but he came to talk to the ambassador in person. After covering the important stuff, he said he was really happy about their long-awaited meeting. Hayden noticed that she seemed pretty close with Miss Janice's escort. In that case, he told her she better set some clear boundaries with him. The boss was still a little worried about this so-called colleague of hers, a knight-looking assassin who'd draw his sword for the Emperor without hesitation. and a servant tagging along with a deep knowledge of poisons, no less. Lady Janis's escorts were seriously hardcore. Hard to tell if they're guards or spies. The Emperor investigated thoroughly, but it was too much for her to just come out and say. But the Kalleta Empire wouldn't just roll out the red carpet for enemies, so there had to be a reason. Honestly, the handsome Emperor just hoped Janis would understand his feelings. He genuinely wished her a good time in Kalleta. To a diplomat from an enemy nation, those words sounded like an invitation to switch sides. Hayden's only hope was that Janis got the message and would want to stay there forever. Look, unless there was a damn good reason, Rustica had to say no. The Emperor thought his motives were clear, but man, he just came off threatening. They sent Rue here from enemy territory, and he's still throwing her a lifeline? No matter how low her status was, this girl still had some pride. Hayden's face just changed, and it was obvious he didn't give a damn. This intense pressure was crushing her whole body. One look from the Emperor, and Rue was shaken. She couldn't shake the feeling that Hayden could crush her with just one finger. On the road, this fearless lady thought about every possible outcome, and was even ready to die with dignity. That awful, crushing feeling just vanished. Hayden was just trying to scare her, not wanting to look like the bad guy. The Emperor apologized and promised to watch what he says in the future. He figured he'd try and earn her trust, but just the thought was enough for Rue. West of Kalleta was a place called Plash, sprawling across plains and mountains. The ruling count's name was Jeans, and Rue just might find someone she cared about there. While Aldwin was waiting in line at the shop, he honestly thought he was gonna die. When he finally got free, he noticed Rustica chatting with someone. Before leaving, Hayden wished the girl a good time in Shale. Aldwin was surprised the Emperor was there, but there were too many ears around to talk. Rustica was going to personally report to the Emperor about what she and him discussed. After a rough day in the city, a fancy dinner with all kinds of treats awaited them. Martin didn't see anything special about the masterpieces he cooked up himself. The butler was ready to bend over backwards if Milady suddenly craved her favorite dish. For some reason, the heroine suddenly remembered what the Emperor said, and now she felt uneasy. But Rustica had to eat it right in front of Martin, though she decided to just try one spoonful. The soup was so delicious, it was worth dying for. Suddenly, the assassin in the knight's mask started talking to the heroine. Rustica didn't mention meeting the Emperor, and promised to write about it in her report. Hearing that events were in full swing in Shayla, Aldwin suggested they get ready too. Truth is, the Kalleta embassy was officially considered their enemy, and they were unlikely to accept them. The loud noise of the protest erupting outside the embassy kept Miss Jeans awake for hours. The people were genuinely demanding the immediate return of the foreign representatives to their homeland. Even though it was dangerous, she still went out, and Aldwin showed up the second he heard the noise. With that many guards, she didn't have to worry about anyone getting in. She told the knight to get ready because they still had invitations to send out. Turns out they got 3 invitations too, but Rue was already making a face. If everything goes according to plan, the heroine will find that nobleman with the name Jeans. It seemed like only a total nutjob would send an invitation to the enemy embassy. Rue ordered all letters with the imperial seal burned immediately. Another letter announced a meeting of Kalleta's diplomats. The third letter, the one that got the heroine's attention, was from the neighboring Nirvana embassy. In the letter, Ambassador Felice invited Ambassador Kalleta for a cup of tea the day after tomorrow at 3. Rue couldn't ignore this letter, and even decided to ask Martin to whip up a dessert. But a letter with the imperial seal on it still had her on edge. Deciding to just peek at the contents, she opened the envelope and was horrified. Lady Jeans is invited to a tea party at the Kalleta Imperial Palace this afternoon. They treat the diplomats from Kalleta like thieves, coming onto their land and stomping all over it. Rustica wouldn't even be surprised if an assassin snuck into the embassy tonight. And naturally, that assassin would be stronger than her guards from today. Our girl didn't want to leave Eliza with Martin, so she brought her along. But now she's second-guessing that decision. Not to mention, it's risky going outside with all these protesters everywhere. And nobody can guarantee safety at home either. Every day is a new adventure. Just like Rue figured, they snatched her cake, so showing up empty-handed now felt super awkward. Having lost her will to live, she just decided to tell them to kill her. The young and dashing emperor threw a killer tea party in his palace garden. Hayden was stoked that she was settling into the embassy and offered her some tea. Lady wasn't picky about it, even though she really thought tea was just hot, scented water. People are gossipy, so anything she says is gonna spread like wildfire. Rustica's under a microscope, but she couldn't do squat about public opinion. That sounded like she'd already been burned by rumors like that before. The girl was happy about the Emperor's invite, but didn't get why he called her. Truth is, just meeting the Emperor one-on-one was a huge honor. Hayden was after something, and he was planning on making friends along the way. Rue's cup was still full, which meant she wasn't exactly thrilled about tea time. Or maybe it was just the location where she was forced to drink it. A savage, animalistic roar made her spin around, and she saw a massive monster. The prototype of that beast they were talking about in Calais looked even more terrifying in the flesh. Seeing that thing, Rustica was seething, realizing what a bastard the Emperor was. The monster was closing in, and she couldn't even use her magic, but it was too late to run. The weird thing is, the Emperor didn't even flinch, so this had to be some kind of test. Staring her fears in the face, she couldn't kill the damn thing, and she couldn't run either. The bloodthirsty creature, overflowing with power, towered over her. This felt like the end. Just when it looked like it was all gonna end badly, a massive magic blast stopped that monster dead in its tracks. Suddenly, everything shifted. Like she got teleported to some other creepy-ass dimension. The Emperor already mentioned there's a place ruled by a noble with the same last name as Rustica. Turns out they're way out on the edge of Perseda, and judging by this, monsters are a regular thing around here. Perseda's lost its mages, and the stray mana's all clumping together, which is why we're getting these monster waves. If Hayden was trying to scare Miss Jeans with monsters, then mission accomplished. Finally got her attention, and now the guy wants to find out what she's into. He felt bad that he freaked her out, but damn, that was still one hell of a spectacle. That piercing stare just shut down all her emotions and instincts. Truth was, her battle sense had gotten rusty after all those years of living like a hermit. Hearing that, Hayden was convinced Emperor Kalleta must have told her. Only now did Rustica realize this guy never actually threatened her. Turns out, all his hostility from the get-go was aimed at Carlos. Feelings forged on the battlefield don't just vanish. That's what Rue figured. Even old knights stay sharp, saying she's lost it because of age is total BS. Rustica desperately insisted her skills were worse than a rookie knight's now. If it's about her old rep, Hayden's barking up the wrong tree. She can't even lift her sword anymore. But the Emperor thought that was a load of crap, and was even ready to prove it. Thinking it was impossible, she figured this conversation was pointless. In that case, Hayden told her to cancel all her plans and suggested they meet tomorrow. He planned to build trust through constant meetings and make the girl believe him. Jeans left soon after, setting up a meeting for tomorrow at the same time. At that moment, the poison test came back clean, and the servant brought the Lord a piece of cake. Despite the high risk, Hayden couldn't resist trying the gift from Lou. According to the servant, there were reports of a massive monster wave hitting the west. Not only was the Lord aware of it, but he himself had already faced a huge monster. The Emperor single-handedly stopped the monster wave in the north, but the western wave will be much stronger. The fearless Emperor was ready to head out at a moment's notice. On top of that, he ordered an announcement about the magic waves detected today in Calais. Hayden was itching to learn about Carlos Arthur Ingram, and he awaited his arrival. Rustica shouldn't have been stuck writing reports this late at night. She'd started out trying to figure out who this nobleman with the last name Jeans was. The girl didn't want to get her hopes up about her parents, but she couldn't stay silent either. If there was even a sliver of hope to find her parents, who disappeared 11 years ago during the war, Rue wasn't letting it go. She's tired every day, but after what she saw today, for the first time in ages, she felt weird. Like back when Milady instinctively sensed monsters, her whole body was filled with dread. Feeling the same thing right now, Rustica unexpectedly noticed a strange energy. Magical forces swept through the room, and in that instant, Carlos Arthur Ingram appeared. The master was very curious to know how she was feeling after a few days in Perset. He wasn't actually there, it was some kind of illusion. Emperor Kalleta showed up because he was curious how Lady Jeans was doing. Real classy way to show interest, considering he's practically waiting for Rue to bite the dust after pushing her towards it. Carlos wasn't expecting to hear the girl figured out Emperor Perseta's a freaking psycho. Thing is, ever since she got here, Hayden's been trying to get her to switch sides, and now he's invited her for tea, trying to build rapport, which has Carlos intrigued. Rustica had been in Perseta for 3 days, but she still couldn't get used to it. Weird thing is, there weren't any protests today. Soon, our girl showed up at the Kalleta Imperial Palace to visit His Highness. The boss told her to stay sharp, since he was just going to give her a little etiquette lesson. He's been talking about banning magic, and yet Emperor Kalleta's playing with fire. Rustica didn't think twice yesterday when nobody tossed a rock through her window. What really threw the Emperor for a loop was Carlos showing up dressed so casually. Turns out, the dude saw him waltzing in with his shirt unbuttoned and wearing a blue bathrobe. Hayden thought it was a major faux pas, so he suggested the girl take some etiquette lessons. The Emperor wasn't about to budge, but this risked starting a war between their countries. He thought he'd proven himself enough, but they were telling him otherwise. Suddenly, His Majesty got curious if Miss Jeans could even dance. The girl froze up, but she doesn't need to be some blue blood to know how to dance. Hayden got why she was curious, but he still thought of her as reckless. He was going to take charge, blaming Emperor Kalleta, not Rustica. Even with that stunt you pulled, if Milady accepts his proposal, The emperor will act like it never happened. So, before her first dance ever, and with the emperor no less, the girl really needed to take off her coat. She thought she was a worthless partner, but Hayden chose her. He wanted to teach her himself. Still, she couldn't help but freak out, standing this close to the Emperor of Persetta. Seeing how calm he was, she figured she had nothing to worry about and grabbed his waist. The boss moved her hand to his shoulder, and then, being even closer, Rue caught his scent. Looking into his eyes, memories of the night they spent together suddenly flashed in her mind. She was afraid of messing up, but Hayden was ready to put up with it 100 times if she stepped on him. Continuing the dance despite her fear, Rustica suddenly stepped on the Emperor's foot. She stepped on him, but surprisingly, she was the one who yelled. The shame from what happened stopped her cold. But the dude couldn't let her just bail. If she was feeling regret, she should stick around, not run off again. To keep Hayden from getting stomped by his heavy-ass night boots, Rustica suddenly yanked them off and went barefoot. Kicking off his own shoes, the Emperor scooped her up and stood her on his feet, unfolding the invite from the Imperial Palace. She figured the day would drag and be totally exhausting. But looking into the Emperor's eyes, she straight up couldn't look away. Only then did she realize that maybe, just maybe, the day wouldn't be as long as she thought. Before long, Rustica had learned the basics of dance, and a whole lot more besides. Time for a breather, so Hayden invited her to join him for lunch. Today was their boring etiquette class, and the next lesson was supposed to be table manners. So Rustica was running a little late getting ready for lunch. But damn, she looked incredible. Pants on women were a total no-no in the Empire, so she had to wear what they gave her. Hayden was staring at her, totally spellbound. It was hard to even read his expression. Noticing how good Miss Jeans looked in the dress, the Lord gifted it to her right then and there. The sun felt great, and he wanted to eat outside, but the chill pushed him to eat inside instead. If Ambassador Jeans had more time, she was sure she would have loved a tour of Shaley. Now wasn't the best time to look. Too many prying eyes were on Kalleta. This is a perfect opportunity to take advantage of someone as naive as Rustica. So, Hayden advised her to be careful about who she trusts and whose advice she takes, what she should be wary of, and what she should embrace in her life. The next day, our girl's back at the Nerva embassy, and Felix is waiting for her. Turns out, she was all over the papers yesterday, saying the Emperor did some messed up stuff to her. Felix, being a foreign correspondent, was hip to the rumors and knew the Emperor could stand up to the bigwigs. Settling in, Rustica wanted to get the lowdown on this mysterious Emperor dude. Hayden Rustanabellers, the Emperor of the mighty Persetta Empire. He's the last of the righteous Beller dynasty, which vanished 430 years ago. All that time, not a single heir showed up. Someone snatched the dynasty members and grabbed all of Persetta's treasure. And that someone was from Kalleta, specifically Emperor Carlos Arthur Ingram of Kalleta. Persetta believes Carlos took everything from Persetta and then built a wall. Between Persetta and Kalleta, which used to be one, there's a wall now, and their territories shrunk. Intel says it's been centuries, but Persetta still won't acknowledge Kalleta. Almost half of Persetta's emperor's titles refer to the southern region, now known as Kalleta. Regarding Rustica's question about the empire's fall, the imperial crest still exists. Felice says the nobles didn't secede because they didn't want to pay taxes regularly. But despite everything, Persetta is a country ruled by sages. Terrifying sages, cut off from the outside world, desperately guarding the legacy of the Persetta Empire. Living for millennia, they can still wield magic even when it's been forgotten in Persetta. Looking at each region, in the east was the Dragon Lord, who was their leader. The north still remains a mystery. Barely anything is known about it. And finally, in the west, was the Master of the Magic Tower, guardian of all magic and knowledge. Rumor has it, before the Emperor showed up, some Western sage ran the tower. But he's retired now. According to the ambassador, magic's always been banned in this country, so there shouldn't be anyone in that tower. Either way, those guys ain't gonna let the Imperial seal get taken down, recognizing the Emperor as the rightful heir to the Bellers. Guess there wasn't a single noble powerful enough to stand up to the freaking Dragon Lord. Having an emperor's better, since the Imperial seal wasn't removed, because of the vacant throne during the Duchy era. Despite being so young, this new Emperor Persetta is no pushover. He immediately started clearing out the northern territories of monsters, proving he's got the power and the juice. For 400 years, during the Emperor's absence, the nobles handled the monsters just fine. Felix pointed out the eastern lands were the only place that was actually thriving. Obeying the Dragon Lord, he only occasionally sent armies beyond the Kallet Wall. They slowly started gobbling up land until the Emperor showed up in the north and east. For the eastern nobles, the Emperor brought fear for the first time. A bunch of them tried to flee north, but the monsters stopped them. The Emperor was cold towards those running away. That's one of the reasons the eastern nobles hated him, and that's how the northern monsters were subdued in the east, after only 4 battles. The emperor didn't give a damn about the power or the opinions of the Eastern nobles. Felice was convinced that Emperor Persetta was a real mystery. His intentions were anyone's guess. That's why everyone in this country is scratching their heads wondering why so much attention's on Miss Janis. The girl became the hottest topic in Persetta, but that wasn't enough to scare her off. Turns out, Felice heard from the news that the Kalleta envoy was carried out of the palace, passed out cold. The pen's mightier than the sword here. All the diplomats were betting on how long Miss Janis would last. The boss only bet on 1 week, but that was a real low blow. So Rustica told him to change the bet to 2 weeks, planning to rig it so he'd win. The heroine was confident in her bet. Hayden wanted her to stay in Persetta, but it's not his will that's keeping her here. It all depends on what she finds out moving forward. Searching for answers to her questions, Rustica headed to the Chalet National Library. The plans in her head shifted 2 days ago when Carlos visited her at the embassy. That's when the boss showed up with an offer to give Miss Jeans a new position. He picked her to be the minister of Persetta because he shared her feelings about her parents. The heroine knew there was a selfish motive behind his promise not to interfere with the search. Remembering that Rustica wanted a reward, the emperor felt like his answer was kind of vague. That day, he promised to help find her parents and to have his knights back. Miss Jeans got a shot at living in Kalleta with her folks. Quiet and peaceful, once her job was done. Carlos and Hayden were the 2 guys who both brought up the subject of her parents. Now, our girl's gotta choose which one of them to trust. But first things first, she needs to know if they're even alive. After a ton of searching, Rustica finally dug up some info on Hayden Arthur Jeans and Milan Jeans. When she was 14, her parents vanished without a trace beyond the wall. They crossed over to enemy territory, even snagged a noble title and lived large. Now, it's almost impossible for her to believe they had 3 more daughters. She figured her folks decided to wipe her memory and start fresh in Persetta. It's been 11 freaking years since that nightmare, and Rustica's been walking a tightrope ever since. Fighting monsters in endless battles, she's been driven by one damn goal that whole time. Left all alone, watching her soul and body wither away. She swore she'd survive this thing alone. Like a true knight and a good daughter, she promised to break through and rescue her parents. But now Rustica just showed up in a foreign land as the enemy, became Persetta's ambassador, and screwed everything up. Her parents earned a prestigious title, while Rue was just a nobody who could barely swing a sword. She was so ashamed of it, she wanted to bolt, but there was nowhere left to run. Carlos or Hayden, they were both cool, but there was no point in her going through with this solo. Her parents had no clue she was here, and they weren't even looking for her. All this thinking just messed her up even more. She had no clue what to do. Next morning, Rustica woke up looking wrecked. She was so bummed out yesterday, she couldn't sleep. She was up all night and still couldn't get her head straight. Honestly, she wouldn't rule out Emperor Persetta betraying her. It's happened before. The fact that Carlos came in person with the offer made her think he might be telling the truth. Just when Miss Jeans was expecting it the least, a young maid approached her. This new maid Martin mentioned looked even younger than 14. Rue tried to pull herself together so she wouldn't look like a basket case in front of the kid. Turns out, Rusilla knew perfectly well that Miss Jeans was there as an envoy. Once it was clear that breakfast was ready, she left, saying a polite goodbye. This maid was so sweet, Rue was sure they'd become friends. Seeing the girl's tired face, the guys knew instantly she hadn't gotten any sleep. With that kind of cash, you should be on vacation. But an invite was sent to the ambassador. Rustica even thought everyone there was betting on how long she'd last. Not wanting to look at the envelope, the girl reluctantly opened it. She got invited to the palace this morning, totally out of the blue. As soon as she arrived at the palace, the emperor immediately ordered her to change clothes. She barely got there, and he was already making her feel like crap. They had a walk planned for today, and thankfully, the pants weren't too tight. Soon, Hayden was leading her through the woods, but Rustica just couldn't relax. He was trying to get her interested, but seeing the same blank stare over and over was a real downer. The emperor didn't prep anything crazy, just that one dude would be bummed if Rue didn't remember him. The boss wanted her to meet him in person and jog her memory, that's all. Sensing a crazy powerful aura, the girl saw a huge monster barreling towards her like a freight train. That feeling of fear and déjà vu made her heart race. Rustica remembered him. Turns out, the monster wasn't gonna attack her at all. It just gently landed on the ground. The heroine came face to face with Icarus, a massive eagle with the body of a dog and gigantic wings. From the puppy dog love, it was clear that she and the emperor had some seriously deep feels for each other. First, Hayden introduced them, but seeing a friendly monster was totally new for Rue. The confused monster immediately hid, but actually, Rustica was the one who should be hiding. She couldn't just run off, or the monster would chase her, and the emperor wouldn't be able to stop it. Like the master said, these two are going to be seeing a lot more of each other in the future. So, the heroine reached out, and the pet reluctantly let her tame it. Icarus didn't just let anyone ride him. But Hayden offered him a chance to fly. He even offered to help, but she was confident in her horseback riding skills. The thing is, Icarus wasn't a horse, he was a freaking griffin. Before she knew it, Rustica was sitting on the back of this giant bird. The important thing is this safety gear, you can't slack off on it. Suddenly, someone called out to the Emperor, and the master left the girl alone with the griffin. This must be serious, if Count Simon is rushing to find them. It's messed up getting summoned to the palace like this, especially on a freaking griffin. Before Rustica could even get a good grip, this massive Icarus takes off and starts flapping its wings. The girl was so freaked, she was desperately trying to get the griffin to lie back down. But then, Icarus spreads its wings wide, like it's about to blast off any second. Icarus, the great Emperor Perseida's divine beast, flew over Kalleta, totally throwing off the Kalleta envoy. Back when Rustica was a knight of Kalleta, there was this magical beast that terrified all the knights. Giant body, horrifying look, and it flew faster than you could even track. It'd rip people apart with its huge claws, leaving everyone shaking in their boots. The only thing the heroine could trust was her knightly instincts. And this was the very same monster she was riding right now. This girl figured Icarus was just taking out his anger from their fight before. She even pointed out he didn't have a scratch on him after the battle, and thought maybe the monster was being a smartass. I mean, considering their history, with them going at it before, Icarus might want to get under her skin or get some payback. But the moment that griffin gave her a shove, she looked up and was instantly blown away by what she saw. The gorgeous scenery stretching out beneath them felt like some kind of miracle she was seeing for the very first time. Looks like Icarus just wanted to show her this, which Rue was actually grateful for. After being up so high for so long, she was basically staring death in the face until someone's hand touched her. Lord Hayden showed up just in the nick of time, because his griffin wasn't planning on landing anytime soon. He didn't remember telling Icarus to fly off with the Jean's ambassador. Since the girl was clearly in shock, the Emperor decided to just apologize right away. Truth is, Rue faked being shocked so she wouldn't have to see the articles about the Kalaton consul fainting. Genuinely sorry for scaring Miss Jeans, the master took control of the situation. He was gonna make sure the girl was safe all the way down, so he told her to chill. Hayden's original plan was to get Rue used to this gradually before going all the way up. But now he decided to descend while the sun was still up. The sunset was seriously gorgeous, so Rustica was fine with sticking around to watch it longer. That's when the master suggested she lean on him even harder. If they relaxed their bodies, they could take their sweet time looking around. The Emperor showed Miss Jeans different spots in Shala, like the Mel River, where the bridge was being built, the diplomatic district where she lives, the wide streets, the art museums and places like that, but nothing she saw even registered because Hayden was standing so damn close. The heat from his body pressed against hers, his breath tangling with her voice as he spoke, and the thumping of his heart that Rustica could feel against her back. It all reminded her of that intimate night they shared as Rue and Hayden. Rationally, she knew she shouldn't be getting this close to him, but maybe she could just enjoy this warmth for a little while. The road that Rue took from Kalleta was called Baypel. Any travel across the Baypel Bridge happened at the Emperor's discretion. For Rustica, that meant he could take her to her parents right now. Next time, Hayden promised a proper tour. The sunset was worth seeing. Rue had to bail though, stuck stressing about snapping her neck. Next day, first thing, Percy Tay's buzzing about a monster surge out west. Emperor dropped off Miss Jeans yesterday, said he had super important biz. Got the heroine thinking it was 'cause of that monster wave in Phalis. Suddenly, huge banging on the door, maids got news. Turns out, message from His Majesty, wants Miss Jeans to meet him at the embassy in half an hour. 20 minutes later, Rustica, still clueless, is heading to see the Emperor. Since she bolted out in a rush, 'cause he told her to, nobody's at the embassy. Then, bam! Hayden the Great swoops in on a griffin, yanks her into a bone-crushing hug. This morning was definitely shaping up to be eventful. Things weren't supposed to go down like yesterday's script. Miss Jeans didn't want to die young. The girl looked so bummed out every time we met. The Emperor figured she'd lost her will to live. Finally chilling out a bit, our girl looked ahead, and what she saw totally freaked her out. Soaring over hundreds of knights, busting through the wall, the boss was forcing her into this expedition. Kidnapping the Kalleta envoy was just a pipe dream for him, and he was stoked he actually pulled it off. Right now, Miss Jeans was getting a front row seat to Perseida's military backup. They were moving so fast, Rustica couldn't even crack her eyes open because of the wind. Flying through Baypol, the heroes came face to face with the massive jaws of a bloodthirsty monster. While she dodged, scared out of her mind, fearless Hayden sliced the monster in half with a single blow. Thousands of bloodsuckers swarming Perseida's territory meant they were in for a long haul. The Emperor suddenly tossed her the reins, leaped to his feet, and started swinging that wicked-looking sword. Death was staring Rue right in the face. so whatever the Emperor was yapping about felt totally irrelevant. Seeing Miss Jean so fearless, Hayden felt pumped, like he had some insane power boost in this fight. Their objective? A head-on brawl with a freaking horde of flying monstrosities. As long as Rue's safety was guaranteed by the Emperor, she was down to take this risky jump. The lady's resolve juiced Hayden up with crazy power. Swinging his sword, he was ready to end this. A massive magic wave, overflowing with raw power, instantly slammed into the monster swarm. When the air was clear, Hayden gave the order to descend, and Rustica guided the griffin back to the ground. Nosediving towards the earth like a freaking missile, Icarus slammed into the ground with a bone-jarring thud. And just like that, the wasteland monster wave in Persetta's northwest region, Phalas, was crushed. After that, the knights were ordered to check the corpses and make sure nobody was left alive. In just 2 attacks, the closest monsters were wiped out. Now, the heroine understood why the previous subjugation ended after only 4 battles. In theory, it seemed easy to prevent new monsters from appearing and destroy the ones already created. However, if the Emperor had that much power, he could surpass Carlos. Ultimately, Hayden was looking forward to seeing Miss Jean's reaction from a front row seat. Having seen enough, Rustica just wanted to get back to the embassy now. The girl was more critical than expected. Plus, she didn't get why she was dragged out here. Hayden was giving the ambassador a tour to show the scale of Persetta's army and let her observe the monsters. At that moment, they learned the area was being cleared, but a second wave was expected. As for Count Phalas and the Countess, they were miles away from the castle, leading the charge in battle. They were always down to have Hayden over, no matter when he decided to drop by. Since the Emperor couldn't just waltz into the castle without its owners around, he decided to set up camp in Belfort. Rustica found herself trapped in a scheme cooked up by Emperor Persetta. Before long, Persetta's armed forces made it safely to the camp in Belfort. Amidst all this chaos, the heroine felt totally out of place. It was too late to bolt, so she just followed them to the Belfort camp. But the Emperor, who dragged her there, was ignoring her, too busy yakking. The Imperials were busy throwing up some temporary tents for the night. Rue was racking her brain, trying to figure out what exactly the Emperor wanted from her. The girl was already bummed out, but Icarus just kept on riding her the whole time. Hayden called it special treatment, but it definitely wasn't doing her any favors. Still being a foreigner from an enemy state, the Empire's people were super wary of her. Plus, Rustica constantly heard about how awesome her parents were, and they lived close by. All of this was getting to her, but she couldn't meet her parents looking like this. Not as a Kalleta Knight, not as a consul. She didn't know what kind of trouble her screw-ups could cause them. The way things were, she felt weird even suggesting they move back to Kalleta with her. And honestly, her biggest fear was, if her parents rejected her first, she wouldn't be able to handle it. When Hayden got back, he couldn't help but notice those two were getting along and bonding. Seeing the feathers in her hair, the Emperor smirked and gently started taking them out. The temporary place was all set up, so he suggested they head inside. Miss Jeans was getting used to the battlefield, thanks to the Emperor helping her adapt. Turns out, it was finally time to meet her parents. Hayden figured Rue had known for a while that the Earl and Countess Fellas were her parents. More like she already knew, but the ambassador wasn't exactly thrilled about this long-awaited family reunion. Thinking about what Milady would like, the Emperor had no idea how unhappy she'd be to see her folks. Rumor had it, Miss Jeans was a brave and loyal knight. The Emperor got the feeling that her loyalty to him outweighed the parents standing right in front of her. This could either be a heartfelt family reunion, or a scene where the Earl and Countess considered their daughter a disgrace. Unpredictable and kinda childish. The Emperor was egging Miss Jeans on. Rustica, totally done with the BS, just snapped and drew her sword like a shot. But let's be real, she didn't stand a chance against him, not even close. So if that's the case, the only play she's got left is to take one for the team. The second the First Order Knights spilled blood, a freaking magical aura lit up the Belfort camp. The Knights, totally freaked out, stormed into the Emperor's chambers and saw him holding a lifeless body. Hayden, trying to save Miss Jeans, yelled at everyone to get the hell out and keep everyone else out. Rustica couldn't even lift her sword. She felt like her whole body was going limp, not listening to her at all. But this helpless feeling was way too familiar. It hadn't left her since she lost her powers. Though, she wasn't sure if it was supposed to be that bad. Like she'd pass out just from holding a sword. Feeling like something was forcing her to do its bidding, Rustica suddenly snapped her eyes open, tears streaming down his face. Hayden was trying to figure out why she did that, instead of just stabbing him. He was trying to get her to hit him, but things took a weird turn. Totally confused about why he was crying, the first thing she wanted to know was what the hell was going on with her. Noticing that Rue could see the chains, Hayden decided to ask if that was actually the case. In that case, everything was cool. At least her eyesight was back. But the girl felt totally off. clearly sensing magic binding her body. Instinctively, she knew she had to tear those things off. Now, Rue couldn't die when she tried, and the magic was tied to her life. But it wasn't time yet. As if to prove he was right, the power was once again leaving the girl's body. Rustica didn't understand Hayden's words, or the magic chains that had appeared on her body. Nobody ever questioned the actions of the Emperor. He was always perfect. In the Kalleta Empire, questioning the Emperor is the same as treason. But the gutsy Miss Jeans dared to question the great Emperor. She always did. Wanting to get past the wall to save her wounded comrades and family, Rue was going to end this war. In the eyes of the 20-year-old girl, Emperor Carlos didn't seem too interested in ending the fighting. Still, the girl wasn't giving up hope of getting permission to cross the wall and wipe out the barbarians and magic creatures. Rue Jeans, a life-loving and kinda naive rookie knight, had no idea what kind of guy the Emperor really was. Carlos valued her loyalty, but this wasn't part of her job. Locking her in magical chains, the Emperor ordered her to stay in Kalleta forever and swear loyalty to him. The heroine couldn't just stand by and let him steal her power so easily. Rustica woke up in a cold sweat, totally freaked out by the nightmare. But she opened her eyes, saw the boss in front of her, and realized it was just a dream. Hayden told her to stay put. She was still under the spell's influence. She'd probably be out of it for another day or so. Carlos would never let her die. The boss agreed to drop the subject and explain everything, if Miss Jeans would eat something. Rue hasn't been able to use her powers for 4 years. That's when the magic showed up. He figures it's because of some spell. Hayden thinks it's more like a curse and exploitation. Kalleta, the genius swordswoman mage, unable to use her natural power? No freaking way. The Emerald Light, the symbol of all the power Carlos uses, meant he stole all of Rustica Jean's power. After yesterday's conversation, she realized Hayden was trying to provoke her, to get her powers back. Ever since then, things started happening to the heroine, slowly revealing who she was. Once her sight was awakened, she could see the raw mana that was drawing in the monster wave. That's why the Emperor was chained to this place, constantly having to follow it around. Rue couldn't see stuff like this for 4 years, and she wasted her youth blaming herself. Usually, people are in denial for over a week, but our girl powered through and started hating Carlos. She's had the last 4 freaking years to get through the denial phase. One of Hayden's goals was to take back everything Carlos stole from Kalleta. The land, the power, the magic. Surprisingly, Rue's intentions have changed, and now she's got a new goal. She's gonna kill Carlos, and she's letting the Emperor tag along. It's not that Hayden doesn't want to. He's just scared of falling for her again. So, since the guy was head over heels, Rustica asked him to help her get revenge. It was messed up, but the girl was gonna use the only dude who ever loved her to become the ruthless, brutal sword of Consul Jens. The Emperor wanted something in return. Surprisingly, the guy wanted to meet her parents first. Besides, ain't nobody gonna stop parents who live for nothing but meeting their kid. After hearing that, all the worries and stress Rue had been carrying around here just seemed to vanish. Soon after, the Emperor took off, promising to come back, and left the girl to relax. Just then, she saw a knight trying to stop a carriage that was busting in. Charlotte Melmew, daughter of Baron Gronby, brought some food for the Imperials guarding the Empire. This lady picked the worst time, since outsiders weren't allowed on the grounds. Suddenly, the sound of hooves thundered, and another carriage appeared at the entrance. Lady Charlotte was ordered to turn right around and head back, because, as the young lady stated, delivering the goods to the camp was Felas's job, and His Majesty was way too busy. Outsiders weren't allowed into the heart of Belfort, so it looked like Charlotte was just thumbing her nose at imperial law. In that case, the furious Lady Melmew pointed at Miss Jeans, calling her an outsider. The Kalleta ambassador was a guest of His Majesty, and rumors about him were already flying. Just when Rustica least expected it, a whole swarm of bloodthirsty monsters suddenly appeared in the sky. Looks like the little critters got separated from the main group, so they weren't too scary. However, even though the swarm was small, there were some seriously huge ones in the mix. Her fearlessness allowed the heroine to instantly jump into the attack and subdue the terrifying monster. Her eyes, honed by years of knighthood, are finally back online. Okay, her body ain't what it used to be, but she can handle it just by seeing and predicting movements. Calculating the monster's next move, the fearless lady dodged and struck from behind. Rue knew her weapon wouldn't last, but she didn't think it would break this damn fast. To salvage this, she borrowed a sword from an Imperial knight and geared up for round 2. Before unleashing her devastating blow, the desperate warrior maiden told the kids to cover their eyes. Luckily, it all worked out in the end, and the monster attack was repelled. The little ladies witnessed this horrifying spectacle, and it's now burned into their memories. Seeing how terrified they were, Rustica couldn't just stand by and decided to comfort them. She was in no shape to be consoling kids right now, but she couldn't bear to watch them cry. Feeling the warmth of those little kids, everything felt right. His Majesty got back just as things were wrapping up. finished with his business. He noticed that standing next to each other, the girls really did look alike. Guess it's true what they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Looking at them, Rustica felt something familiar, like they were bound by fate. Saya and Bella had really been missing their big sister. A week after arriving in Persetta, the heroine met her sisters she never even knew existed. Sia wasn't supposed to come, but the news Lady Charlotte was headed here changed her mind, and Bella wanted to see her big sister too, which is why Sia couldn't come alone. Hayden said Sia wanted to meet her sister and had to stop Lady Charlotte. The guy was super gentle, wiping Rustica's face after the fight, and she just let him. Because what could she even say? Turns out the magic in her eyes was just gone, like she burned it all out during the battle. The eye magic spell was simple, and the Emperor helped her out. But the other enchantments? No way. Our girl grew up solo until she was 14, and then bam, suddenly she meets her little sisters. Honestly, she was kinda shell-shocked and worried about her mom's health on top of everything. Sia really wanted Rue to come home with them. Totally sure they'd all live together. Nothing was set in stone, not yet. But Rustica couldn't bring herself to lie to the kids. But their godfather chimed in, saying that's exactly why. He brought Miss Jeans here. She was stoked to meet her sisters, but it was still hard for her to, think straight, you know? You could see it all over her face, though. Something else was eating her up inside. Hayden says that wherever the Count and Countess went, they always made sure Rustica had a room ready. They said their grown-up daughter needed her own space, worrying about their reunion, just like Rue did. Both the parents and kid were super anxious, and it was a real bummer to watch from the sidelines. Now the main character won't be able to hold back, not while she's on Count Felis's turf. Out of nowhere, news arrived that Countess Malene Jeans requested permission to teleport to Belfort. Rustica needed some time to get ready, but Hayden reassured her that everything would be all right. The magic teleporter opened up, and out stepped a woman, looking shockingly similar to her daughter. No doubt about it, that's Rustica's mom, Countess Felis, the Iron Lady Malene Jeans. Seeing their mom, the girls ran towards her crying, "Mom!" It was a word the main character hadn't said in ages. The guy she'd been dreaming of seeing was right freaking there. But even knowing that, she couldn't force herself to move. Hayden knew from experience, Miss Jeans had a habit of running, but right now, he didn't think she needed to bail. Facing her old fears, this was the start of the revenge that Rue needed to take. Ahead lay a path the heroine had to walk, never wanting to stay Rustica the loser forever. Deciding she was done with that, the fearless girl stepped towards her destiny. First thing, when she met her mom, she told her she'd met her older sister. At that moment, Countess Felis held her breath, seeing her daughter all grown up. Their feet carried them to each other, lost in the moment, finally reunited after all these years. A mother's love-bound daughter and mother together, their connection went way beyond just blood. It was a reunion of mother and daughter, where both were feeling the exact same pain. The reunion was as agonizing as their time apart, but it was also so damn passionate. A week after Rue got appointed as consul and arrived in Persetta, she finally met with her mom and sisters. But, since her mom was right in the thick of the war, they couldn't spend much time together. Looks like Rustica just has to make her choice now. Her family, who she'd missed for so damn long, or Carlos's curse, which had made her life hell for the last 4 years. And right now, she knew exactly where she needed to be. When our girl got back, Hayden immediately suggested they grab some food and chill in silence. He was happy she met her mom and got sisters, even if it was a bit much. Rustica wanted to know what her parents promised him in return for bringing her here. But Hayden didn't bring her here to ask the Earl and Countess for favors. Unlike that petty Emperor Carlos, Hayden wasn't expecting anything in return. He said the Earl and Countess would be busy for a while, and this fortress would be right in the thick of it too. Monster waves in the north are regular, but the west has seen huge waves after years of buildup. For the kids' safety, Hayden planned to make this monster wave a real pain to deal with. If the Emperor deals with the waves okay, the nobles will think they are on the same level and stay quiet. Rustica was thrilled that the master cared about the people, who were the foundation of the country. To her, such obvious things seemed foreign when she was under Carlos's thumb. Right now, the Earl and Countess, who showed up 11 years back, are calling all the shots. So the heroine's gotta pick. Does she want to be the Jeans ambassador or Lady Felis Rustic? Girl never imagined she'd end up being Baroness Furley and Countess Felis in this backwater. Our girl's fate is sealed. Those Earl and Countess already made up their minds. That shack in Kalleta doesn't even come close to what the Emperor's dug up for her. It's only natural to feel awkward around a woman who sees the Emperor as just a one-night stand. After all, this was actually Mr. Hayden's first time. Dropping that topic, Rustica decided to find out what he'd do if she stayed in Persette. The guy was ready to give back everything Carlos stole from her, and even get revenge by chopping his head off. But Rue just wanted to ditch the curse so she could get back her powers as a rare mage knight. This curse is so delicately crafted. Mishandling it could be life-threatening. It's cunningly linked to all her organs, which means there's a real chance she could die. Her eyes are where the curse originates, so that's the easiest place to break it. After all, Rue looked into Emperor Carlos's eyes plenty of times before coming to Perseda. Hayden's convinced history will repeat itself if Carlos finds out Miss Jeans broke the curse and came back. But right now, he can lift the curse from the parts of her body that are far away from vital spots. This is the only shot we've got to get the young lady to stay in Perseda. Her legs are further from the vital spots than her arms, so it's best to free them first. Before we can completely break the curse, we need to weaken it. Using his unique power, he managed to weaken it, and Rue saw the chain break with her own eyes. Damn, my leg feels so much lighter. I'm feeling so free, I want to break all these chains right now. Turns out, the curses on my neck, heart, and head are gonna take way more effort to remove. The Emperor said he'd free my right leg after Miss Jeans finishes eating. Only one leg is free, but in that moment, our girl realized something crucial. For the sake of her freedom, she was sure being with Hayden was the right call. Thanks to Rustica's focus, the curse on her other leg was also lifted off by the master. Hayden's planning to wrap things up quick in Felas, then head back to Shalea. While stopping in Felas, Rustica wants to chill with her folks after she steps down. In that case, His Majesty promised to do everything he can to get her resignation approved. The girl awkwardly brought up her trustworthiness, which His Highness had mentioned before. She was talking about how she seduced him for that amazing night they had together. Hayden got it loud and clear when she said they had to pretend like nothing happened. It wasn't something to blab about in public, but he couldn't just act like it never existed. The Emperor kept his mouth shut, and everything stayed secret. He was gonna keep it that way. But between them, he couldn't just pretend it didn't go down. Every time Rustica saw him, he wanted her to remember that night, because Hayden was always gonna remember it. He just had to deal with it. His warmth, his tenderness, that gentle look he gave her that night. He treated her so softly, she couldn't say no. And that's another reason why Miss Jeans was scared to look him in the eye, afraid she'd give in to temptation. Honestly, Hayden didn't want to force her into anything. But if he just leaves things as they are, she'll only ever see him as the Emperor. And that was his biggest fear. The one thing he never wanted from the start. Hayden dipped out, then came back and wiped out all the monsters solo with his crazy power. He's done in Belfort, so Rustica decided to head back with the kids. She should be stoked to reunite with her family, but something else is bugging her more. Hayden's all up in her head, probably because it was his first time. Lost in thought, the trip home flew by, and soon she was back at the palace. Her dad was waiting for her in the courtyard. Been looking forward to this. And just like that, Miss Janice was reunited with the family she thought she'd lost. Even though Hayden took good care of Rue the whole time she was in Shale, today was rough on her. She probably felt like crap at the embassy, so it's no surprise she passed out. The Count was grateful Hayden brought his daughter back, and didn't regret letting him stay for a week. A week's wait was nothing if it meant a father could see his daughter again. Mr. Hayden was planning on leaving Belfort kinda quick, so the schedule's already tight. He mentioned he only managed to lift the curse from Rue in 3 spots today. It was directly tied to her life, and also meant to stop her from recklessly ending it. But the Emperor took full responsibility for breaking the whole curse. Funny thing is, the girl herself asked him to lift the curse so she could deal with Carlos. Also, once the suppression's done, there's going to be a victory celebration in Shala. And that's when Count Jeans got the offer to officially introduce his daughter. Rue showing up here as Kalleta's envoy? That's a huge strike against her with the high society crowd. But Hayden told us to follow his lead. Promised he'd personally escort her to the banquet. At the Victory Bash celebrating the House of Jeans' achievements, the Emperor's gonna announce he's partnering with Lady Falasa Rustica. The Count was sure that if they introduced their daughter to high society now, they'd tear her to shreds. Ethan was getting way ahead of himself in his anger, so Milan was doing everything she could to calm him down. But his dad instincts were screaming that Hayden was looking at their daughter differently. Truth is, Rue's 25. She's her own woman, not some little girl anymore. It was hard for her dad to accept she didn't need to sew uniforms and buy swords anymore, like she used to. Now, all her parents had to do was support her, make sure she didn't get too wrapped up in lifting curses and revenge. Ethan wanted to stick close, make up for lost time, and he definitely didn't want her getting married. Rustica came to a little while later, totally out of it, not knowing where she was. First thing, a maid was nice enough to offer her a glass of water. She'd passed out from crying after that talk with her dad, but she figured she hadn't been out long, because the sun was still up. First thing Rustica did was hit the bathroom to wash off all the crud from yesterday. Lady Milan had even hooked her daughter up with outfits for every vibe. The clothes were pretty wild, and Rustica was totally feeling her mom's style. She went with a light white dress with blue frills that made her red hair pop. The palace was so freaking huge, she almost couldn't find the stairs down. As she was heading down, she bumped right into the Emperor. completely mesmerized by her beauty. The old man was now glad he'd waited, seeing her look this gorgeous before anyone else. He was so captivated by her looks, he almost forgot to ask how she was feeling. Rue felt so light now. Her legs felt unusually heavy, like she was losing her balance. Just as Hayden was about to ask her to dinner, she spotted her dad behind him and bolted towards him. Rustica really loved the dress her mom picked out, which she told her dad. Turns out, the Earl was way more perceptive than Hayden thought, and so began the celebration of the Earl's eldest daughter's safe return. At the table, Hayden announced Lady Rustica had decided to move to Persetta, and he couldn't let her live on this estate. She was a skilled knight in Calais, and wasting such a valuable asset in Persetta would be stupid. The Earl was super grateful he saw the potential in his daughter, and wasn't about to keep her at home. Knowing all this, the Emperor decided he'd visit the Magic Tower with her tomorrow. He planned to travel discreetly, just him and Rue, leaving everything else to her folks. Originally, the Western Magic Tower was where Persetta's mages trained and researched magic. But centuries ago, during that kidnapping incident, the Tower Master's magic and powers were stolen. And the guy behind that crime? None other than Kalleta's Emperor, Carlos Arthur Ingram himself. During the incident, the Tower Master was seriously injured, and all her students were killed. As a result, the Magic Tower Master handed her position over to the Emperor and went to live alone in the ruined tower. All this led to rumors that the tower's been empty for centuries, and any uninvited guests will be cursed. Still, the Guardian showing up at Hayden's coronation put those bogus rumors to rest. Having flown a good distance already, the heroes could finally see the Magic Tower. Below her lay the remains of nearby houses and the ruins of buildings that used to be right next to her. According to the Emperor, the current owner of the Magic Tower had no intention of rebuilding them. It broke her heart to see her beloved research destroyed right before her eyes, which is why she hadn't left the tower in centuries. Part of the Emperor's goal was to get her okay to rebuild the tower and to check up on her well-being. Rustica was Phaelus's heir, and they were both ruined by the same guy. But they were totally different people. Once the monster waves chill out and that fancy noble family gets a solid grip, people will start flocking here. The heroine was sure it'd be tough for the Count to run such a huge territory, and he'd need help. As the heroes got closer, a positive signal rang out from the tower, welcoming them. Thankfully, Icarus made a slow descent and nailed the landing. The Lord showing up caught the heroes off guard. He suddenly called out to the Emperor. Busting out of the bushes, Sir Roderick blurted out that the Magic Tower was way too huge. Sir Roderick Callahan was a mage, and right now, he was helping out the owner of the Magic Tower. Spotting Miss Jeans, the kid couldn't believe he'd met the Jeans, you know, the protector of Qatar. Since he knew that nickname, it wasn't hard for Rue to figure out he was one of the Imperial Knights. Roderick was a second-class knight in the Imperial Order, and he was honored to meet a Kalleta knight, but he totally wasn't expecting the Kalleta consul he was waiting for to also be Lady Jeans. Now, though, Rustica wasn't about to do anything that would even slightly benefit Kalleta. According to Roderick, there are still tons of people here who can't forget their past in Kalleta and want to go back. But most of the materials were lost, so the mages from Kalleta left, totally bummed out. First things first, the heroes stepped onto the teleportation magic circle, the one that led to the upper floors. This was all new to Rue, but she was ready to teleport her butt up there. Right before meeting the tower's owner, Hayden suddenly bailed and told her to wait. Not wanting to waste time, she asked Roderick to fill her in on the history of Persetta and its guardians. He knew that Persetta and Kalleta were originally just one country, protected by 5 guardians. These wise men each defended a region. The eastern one ruled dragons, the western one, the tower. And from the very start, the central ruler was traditionally the Emperor of Persetta. Over the last few centuries, thanks to Carlos Ingram, some of the guardian positions opened up. After declaring himself emperor, he offed the real one and wiped out the royal family, ending the guardian bloodline. The Dragon Lord flipped out, banished Carlos, and left the throne open, waiting for the guardians to return. After that, Carlos came back to the captured lands. They threw up a barrier, and that's how the Kalleta Empire was born. So, about the last guardian, the one from the south, that was a lady named Rustica. Carlos, the guy who founded the Kalleta Empire, was a southern sage, but he built it on looting, murder, and theft. And get this, she was born surrounded by a barrier, protected by it her whole life, without even knowing about it. These are lands built on theft, born surrounded by a freaking barrier. Rustica couldn't believe the story, that Carlos stole everything and put up this barrier, was actually true. When she got to Persetta, she heard about Carlos building a wall, but she just brushed it off as gossip. Honestly, she'd been side-eyeing the guy's actions back in Kalleta too, because the barrier was Carlos's protection, something he'd never even think about crossing. Now it's clear why Miss Jeans got the boot from Kalleta. Back in the day, Rue dared to ask the Emperor to cross the wall, and got her power stripped and was exiled, losing everything. Okay, it was all clear now. None of her misfortunes were her fault. It was just bad luck. Like, seriously terrible luck. Soon, Hayden gave Miss Jeans permission to enter, and she got her chance to meet the tower's mistress. The Emperor introduced Ophelia Quintelet Alicia, the tower's guardian, who had handed control over to him. Rustica's introduction was so humble. It was downright chivalrous. Offering the girl some tea, Ophelia remarked that Carlos had become more scrupulous. Just then, the Guardian of the West touched her head, and the heroine felt magical chains on herself. That was pretty messed up. Carlos really used Ophelia's powers after he stole them. It was truly horrible and disgusting, so much so that Rue didn't even want to look at it. It was time for Ophelia to return to her sage position. Hayden ascended the throne, the barrier opened, and Lady Rustica returned to Perseta. Like it or not, the world had changed big time. If that was an offer to go back to her post, the lady turned it down flat. The reason? She'd been drained for too long, lost her edge. Lady Rustica's going through the same thing right now, which is why she bolted. Even if Ophelia had escaped, nothing would have changed, so she quietly waited to die. As for Miss Jeans, if there was a shot, she was damn well gonna take it. According to the Western Guardian, it'll take forever to lift the curse, and there's a chance it won't even work. But as long as Rue had a hand to hold a sword, and the strength to swing it, that was enough for her. Then it all clicked for the lady. This was the path His Majesty had chosen. Unable to hide her position any longer, Ophelia Quintelet offered to survey the tower. This magic tower's totally empty. Carlos Ingram's gotta be behind it. He stole all the priceless magic books, ancient texts, and research, then burned the rest. The place stayed trashed until the mistress's students cleaned it up. And it wasn't just books, other artifacts got swiped too. Carlos took everything from here to build his empire, and he's still doing it, leeching the sage of the West's power. The Kalleta Emperor didn't just curse them, he drained their power. He used defenseless Ophelia Quintelet and Rustica Jeans. The scars from that long exploitation are burned deep into this place. Countless important artifacts were here. Izer's sword, Nananki's staff, the Velan necklace. Suddenly, Rustica asked to go back to the embassy. She was going to show that thieving bastard what it felt like to get robbed. Consul Janis got back to the Kalleta embassy 3 days after the kidnapping. She needed to get back to Kalleta ASAP, so she asked Aldwin for help. Ro had to report the situation to the Emperor immediately, especially the size of the Perseta army. It was hard to explain all the details, but she had to get back and report, like yesterday. If the Perseta Emperor finds out she knows everything, then all hell's gonna break loose. Aldwin finally agreed to help, making damn sure no one could track her. He gave her a magic stone created by the Kalleta Emperor, so she was guaranteed safe passage. Using teleportation, Rustica ditched Perseta and left the kid behind. The chick teleported so suddenly, she scared the crap out of everyone around her. Still, Hayden's image kept haunting her from behind. His ideal woman? Someone secretly plotting revenge. They couldn't afford to get caught, so Rue told him to keep his mouth shut. Rustica Janis released a statement requesting an audience with His Majesty. Seeing how suddenly the girl came back, Carlos figured she'd learned Perseta's secrets. Being around Emperor Perseta these last few days, she'd uncovered some intel. First off, their knights and Western forces under the Emperor's command were way bigger than expected. They were all riding these magical beast-like creatures, and there were too many to even count. All the aristocrats care about is protecting their own status and expanding their turf. They're used to the Emperor being MIA since birth, so Carlos was sure that was how it was. And another secret Rustica uncovered was something the Emperor told her. Apparently, according to Hayden, a new guardian had shown up down south. Then, the Emperor told her to come back in 4 hours, giving her time to relax and comfort until then. She was worried Carlos would notice some of the curses had been lifted, but she got away with it. It was probably because Hayden cast an illusion spell on Miss Jeans before she even got here. With no guards around, Rustica decided to take advantage and slip away. But at the worst possible moment, a knight tagged along, so they ended up having to walk together. Carlos was moving faster than expected and ordered his men to activate the magic circle. Since Carlos wasn't there, the main character decided to make her move too. While the guy slowly lumbered behind her, Rustica suddenly whipped around a corner. As soon as he went after her to stop her, bam! That fearless chick clocked him right between the eyes. Hayden, who suddenly showed up, was surprised to see her rifling through the poor guy's stuff. The girl stripped the guy of his clothes and ordered the Emperor to change into them. Since he decided not to just spectate, he'd better disguise himself as one of Kalleta's men. Now, he was told to cover his body and legs, and also hide his face, so he wouldn't stand out. They could be in danger any second, so it's actually a good thing Hayden protected her. While the boss is away, they need to recover the stolen goods and trash his place. Turns out, the entrance to the archive with secret knowledge was heavily guarded. But Rustica's skills were still top-notch, so she skillfully handled the guards. Inside the archive, there were usually guards posted everywhere, so the heroes decided to stay hidden. No guards at the entrance, so Rue decided to circle the outer wall and sneak inside. Spotting 2 guards on the way, the girl knew she only had one shot at this. First things first, she took out one of them, sinking a sharp knife right into his chest. Wasting no time, Rustica jumped on the mage, ready to finish what she started. But she missed him with the sword, so she had to take him out on the second try. The noise drew unwanted attention. Even though Miss Jeans could have finished this quietly, she couldn't risk sticking around, deciding to lure the guards inside and deal with them there. The guards were relentless, and Rustica found herself one-on-one against 6 warriors. Before Milady could even come up with an escape plan, a devastating attack from outside took one of them down. It all happened too fast. The master just couldn't hold back. Hayden got jealous seeing his girl surrounded by all those guys. That's when things popped off, and the Imperial Guards jumped them. During the attack, Rustica straight up dropped her sword, leaving her empty-handed. Meanwhile, across the room, while Hayden was distracted, some knight took a cheap shot at him. Luckily, our girl found a replacement weapon just in time and saved Emperor Persetta. Without even realizing it, the thingy Rue grabbed unleashed a powerful blast, knocking the Imperial Guards back. She just picked up a staff that was lying nearby, but it turned out to be way stronger than she thought. Now, she could barely believe that this thing took out all those guards. Even so, Hayden never asked her to protect him. Being a former knight, Rustica felt she had to protect him out of loyalty and duty. The Emperor was staring at her, totally smitten, realizing he was falling for her all over again. But right now, their main gig was finding these artifacts that all looked the same. The scepter Rue found was the most valuable thing here, and it even had a special name. Once they finally had all the artifacts together, the Emperor suddenly heard a racket outside. Judging by the noise, it sounded like they were about to get busted. No time for chit-chat now, so Rustica decided to get them out of there, ASAP. There's gotta be a place to hide behind one of the walls in the palace hallway. With a quick whack of the scepter, she managed to open up the entrance to a secret spot. It was safe in here, so she suggested they catch their breath before moving on. She once saw Carlos coming out of there, and that's how she knew there was something behind the wall. But looking around, she couldn't figure out what they were even staring at. The whole secret room was crammed with torture devices, all covered in blood. You could only guess what Carlos was doing down here. But the most horrifying thing that hit the heroes was the huge vats filled with kids. Seeing that small, tortured, and mutilated body, Rue couldn't believe a human being was capable of that. On behalf of the Kalleta Empire, Hayden expressed his deepest gratitude. Thanks to Miss Jeans, they were able to find the bodies of the missing royals. What the Emperor was witnessing was the most horrific and shameful event in Perseta's history, and the deepest humiliation, a feeling you can't ever shake off. When the others found out what happened, they could barely believe it was possible. Working together, Hayden and Rustica tracked down the ones who vanished ages ago. These are all the remaining kids. Sadly, they couldn't find the rest. Out of 47 missing, only 5 kids came back as corpses. Actually, not 5, but 6, including Hayden, who came back alive. Their funerals are going to be arranged later. But for now, the boss suggested we check out the artifacts. Rustica didn't find the Emperor's crown, but she did snag the scepter. This is a magnificent treasure, and we can use it to lift a few of Rue's curses. And Miss Jeans brought a belt. She didn't know what it was, but it was stored with the scepter. With tears in her eyes, Lady Ophelia snatched the belt and hugged it so tight, she squeezed her eyes shut. The power radiating from the treasure was devouring Carlos's curse. Figuring they had a shot at breaking one curse, Hayden jumped right into it. It was insane. Ophelia was being flooded with the magic she needed to survive. After a while, the green tail finally started reacting, and Ophelia was visibly getting better. Finally, one of the curses that had held the Guardian down for years was lifted. The treasure that Ophelia treasured the most was called the Star of the Western Sky, the symbol of her power. Carlos used the power of the scepter and the Star of the Western Sky to put a curse on the Guardian. That's how Hayden managed to break the curse while channeling the Star of the Western Sky. On top of everything else, Rustica swiped an artifact that looked like a sphere, a pearl necklace, and some kind of ring. They used to be Carlos's symbols, but after stealing the Emperor's symbols, he had no use for them. Giving up all the artifacts, Lady Rustica left to tender her resignation, taking her leave. Hayden and Ophelia were the only ones who knew the artifacts originally belonged to Miss Jeans. When Hayden tried to destroy them, an ominous sound suddenly came from the pearl. That sound meant Carlos realized his treasures were gone, and it looks like he's already found the culprit who dared to deceive him. Wasting no time, the main character immediately wrote a letter of resignation to the Emperor. She figured it would pass, since she didn't write a single word insulting him. Even if it was just a little, her body felt lighter after the curse was lifted. The fact that she could move, swinging a sword, gave the girl hope. She decided to return to Phalis tomorrow, when she suddenly sensed someone behind her. Caught off guard, Rustica didn't even have time to run before a man grabbed her roughly. Nobody screws over the great Emperor Kalleta and gets away with it. Now he's seriously pissed. He was so mad, he squeezed the girl's throat harder, lifting her right off the ground. Just then, some kind of magic power wrapped around the Emperor like a noose, stopping him dead in his tracks. The boss went flying, and Rustica hit the deck. This quick-thinking savior heard Emperor Kalleta was obsessed with his so-called honor. Hayden was bummed to see Carlos had neither honor nor decency. Threatening and going after a chained-up knight? Not exactly the Emperor-like thing to do. But as Carlos saw it, it was still better than Hayden barging in like some low-life thief. Thanks to Hayden, his knight was acting up. But the boss had no idea what Lady Rustica was really about. It's precisely because Kalleta couldn't understand that he never became Emperor of Persetta. Ophelia wasn't about to miss the moment fate finally screwed over that #1 scumbag, Carlos Ingram. Carlos thought she'd be locked away in that trash heap forever, pathetically crawling around. But Ophelia could walk just fine, and she was gonna make that low-life regret ever underestimating her. Especially since he couldn't even handle the power he stole. No wonder everyone who ever served him blindly turned their backs the second they ended up here. Carlos figured it was because those pathetic losers were feeding them a bunch of BS. But he was trying to blame them, even though he was the one who got suspicious of Lady Rustica the second she showed up. A shiver ran down his spine at the thought that Lady Rustica chose Persetta and his emperor over Carlos. He couldn't believe it was true, convinced that the girl wouldn't do something like that. His desperate tone and reaction made it look like he'd been betrayed by someone he trusted. Seeing Emperor Kalleta like this was disgustingly pathetic. He never even considered the pain and disappointment Rue suffered under his command. The girl was just a pawn, and seeing him act like he was hurting made me want to puke. Carlos was convinced Hayden was a threat to his knight. But the truth is, he helped Rue, let her see her parents, and gave her a title. And most importantly, he's slowly breaking the curse Carlos put on her. Convinced that if he wanted to, he would have done it himself by now. Rustica threw the letter in his face. That's why nobody who came from Kalleta decided to go back. Nobody wanted to acknowledge a thief as their emperor. Those accusations hit the Lord so hard, he immediately blasted the girl with his magic power. According to Ophelia, if the girl resisted anymore, her body wouldn't hold up. Hayden took it upon himself, ordering Ophelia to cast the banishment spell. He just wanted this conversation to end. He told Carlos he could cross the barrier again and steal everything all over if he wasn't happy. And he better grab that resignation letter before he leaves, 'cause he ain't forgiving anyone. The ruthless Kalleta Emperor vanished, and finally, the hall went dead silent. For the first time ever, Rustica finally stood up to the Emperor she served. Her words clearly got to him, and in the end, he was chased out in disgrace. The look on his face at the very last second? That was definitely her first win against him. The heroine finally overcame her master, the guy who chained and tricked her. A huge victory, but it's a double-edged sword for young Miss Jeans. That neck injury she got from Carlos's hands? It's pretty damn serious. It's gonna take time to heal, and she'll need meds in the meantime. Rustica wasn't getting too involved, it was her business. But Hayden was still pissed off. He was just so worried about her getting hurt, and that he was too late to help. The guilt was crushing him. He felt like he was supposed to protect Miss Jeans. It'd be way better if she could protect herself, but for now, she was under his wing. Truth is, Hayden saw a fire in her, the kind that could give her the strength to personally behead Carlos. He'd never seen a resignation letter delivered like that. Rue was burning for revenge against Carlos. Hayden decided, no matter what, he was going to break the curse that was on her. Since part of Ophelia's curses were lifted, the lady could probably get rid of hers too. But considering her current state, it was going to be a major struggle. Carlos hit a vital spot, and she's in shock. Rue can't be pushing herself right now. The Emperor wasn't just worried, he was stressed about a lot, but not this much. But the girl was the type who charges ahead, like she's got no time to waste. Thing is, the guy didn't have time for leisurely chats either. His heart was racing. His words hit hard, and she was having a tough time getting her heart to chill out. The Emperor's words were totally genuine, not a hint of a joke in them. Rustica got the full weight of what he meant. But it wasn't just the words themselves. Even before he spoke, she felt everything that was happening just from a single touch. How worried Hayden was about her. How sorry he was he couldn't protect her. How much he treasured her. He wasn't hiding his feelings anymore, and they were getting impossible to ignore. Outrageous displays of emotion, blurring the lines of what they're supposed to uphold. The heroine knew it, but she couldn't bring herself to look him in the eye. Because as long as Carlos's shadow hung over her, she felt like she was using Hayden's feelings. She needed to borrow his strength until the curse was lifted. After all, it was just a one-sided thing, something she could never reciprocate. Late that evening, Hayden showed up to see Ophelia, checking how she was doing. Him showing up at this hour? The lady knew right away he wanted something. Before he left the tower tomorrow, he wanted to chip away at Rustica's curse, and he needed her help. Still not fully recovered, Ophelia suggested he ask the Dragon Lord for assistance instead. But Hayden was cool with even a little help from the Western Guardian. Artifacts wouldn't cut it against Rustica's curse, not one laid with power built up over centuries. So, after Carlos ditched the sage gig, he'd been leeching the power from every newborn successor. The Southern Guardian heirs they never found? They must have been born and died down there. That is, until Lady Rustica showed up in Perset. Hayden remembered meeting her with a warm, almost reverent feeling. She'd actually found him. Back when he was just a dumb kid and a lousy fighter, Rustica came blazing into his life like the sun. Carlos's big heist and betrayal went down centuries ago. It went on for 7 years, where he was just plundering the Imperial vaults and the Magic Tower's stash. On top of that, he wiped out the grown-up royals and snatched the young ones. 47 royal kids vanished because of it. 430 years later, only 5 of them came back, and they were all corpses. And among them was one survivor, Hayden Constant Rustana Beller. The whole empire honored the memory of Albert Udrich Beller, a Lady Rosenbeller, the daughter and son of Duke Lenberg. When ash and shadows fell on the White City, the sun and the moon wept. Louisa Olga Leslie, daughter of Count Mael, Clarissa Tira Magnus, daughter of Duke Gian, Richard Alexander Beller, son of Grand Duke Belua. They all fled into eternal exile. The sight of these children's golden hair stirred vague memories of Hayden and Rustica, a boy with a pale face and dirty blonde hair, hacked off unevenly, who stared at her with dead eyes. Now, that boy is saying goodbye to all the missing on behalf of the last survivor. The heroine didn't know where he was or what he was doing, as that golden hair turned black. Along with curiosity in her heart, Rue felt pity for him. When those 5 dead kids came back, the whole damn empire went nuts. So Hayden figured he'd better wrap up this conquest ASAP. Right now, Sir Simon's running around town like his tail's on fire. Hayden was supposed to check on the girl this morning, but he got held up. That's when the boss told her about his plans to lift the curses real soon. But Ophelia was sure that messing with the head-related curses was still too risky. Removing too many curses, or not enough, could seriously backfire. Carlos tied the girl up good and tight, so much so that Ophelia wondered how she'd react when they took them all off. Glad to see Miss Jean so full of pep, the Guardian decided to lift some of her curses. As soon as Hayden got a firm grip on Rue, the mistress started chanting the magic renunciation spell. The curse was woven into her tendons and bones. The closer it was to her heart, the harder it was to remove. Ophelia was giving it everything she had, fighting like hell against those devil's knots that were eating her alive. When she maxed out her power, Rustica felt this insane pain all over. Luckily, it was over in a flash, and she was okay. The curse around her eyes wasn't that strong, and her legs were way down at the end of her body, making it easier to break. Like Ophelia said, the closer you get to the heart, the tighter it gets tied. That's why they needed to get back the power Carlos stole, to get rid of it for good. They'd been back together for less than a month, and they'd already been through so much crap. They just needed to stick together, side by side. From now on, Hayden vowed to be there. A weird feeling wouldn't leave her alone. Her body felt like it was losing its balance. Depending on how her body reacts, that's how they'll change their approach. Hayden offered to help out so they could hit up the upcoming ball together, as Count Phalus's daughter, Rustica, had to make an appearance in high society. I mean, the Emperor wasn't planning on making her a knight yet, even though she'd dig that. Lately, the girl's been focused on breaking her curse, so payback's been her top priority. Thing is, if Rue keeps obsessing over that bastard, she won't have any room for Hayden. Her constant thoughts about Carlos were stabbing the guy in the feels, because hate and attraction are 2 sides of the same coin. Despite what he thought, Rustica wasn't gonna go to the ball. She needed to buy time and lift that curse. It was too early for her to join the Imperials. She had a long road ahead. Truth is, the Emperor was ready to help the girl get her revenge and join up with the Imperials. But if that happened, he wanted the lady's eyes on him. He was even ready to strip down. Looks like the Emperor's hitting the ball solo, and marriage is off the table since he ain't a virgin anymore. But Rustica shot him down, told him to find a dame better than her. Hayden wasn't fazed. Those words just made him pull her even closer. The guy's been waiting forever, replaying her smile in his head every single time. He couldn't marry anyone else, so he was dreaming Rustica would take responsibility for him. Soon it was time to head to Shaley, and our heroes were all set. But determined she and Bella were packing their bags too, not letting their sister out of their sight. Seeing them, Hayden tried explaining Rustica had business in Shaley, but the girls were game for anything to tag along with their big sis and godfather. She got so emotional, she jumped into her older sister's arms, begging her not to leave them. The girls wouldn't let her go. They'd been dreaming of living together. Rustica had to leave, so the Earl and Countess stepped up to comfort the kids. After saying goodbye to her dad, she promised to see him in 3 days at the national funeral. Grabbing her tight, the Emperor took responsibility for her safety. Icarus spread his wings and shot into the sky. Time to head back to Shalea. Turns out, Icarus had no clue how rough it'd be for Rue, surrounded by all those nobles. But she had her mom and dad, who were gonna be there for her, no matter what. For the first time in forever, Rue wasn't alone. Her family was always by her side. Soon, news spread through Shalea that the Emperor finished his expedition and was coming home. People couldn't believe he wrapped things up in the West so damn fast. The elite really shouldn't have underestimated him just because he's young. Just then, the wings of magical beasts sliced through the air, and Imperial soldiers showed up in the sky. Closer to the ground, cheers of jubilation rang out. The people were wishing His Majesty a long life. Nothing happened while he was gone, or he would have been told immediately. The state funeral was proceeding according to protocol. Priests were tending to the bodies, and a service was held every morning. Simon wanted to know if the Emperor planned to keep Lady Rustica at the palace for the duration of the funeral. Rue didn't need any of that formality. She just needed to be near Hayden. After teleporting to the palace, Hayden decided to show off all the artifacts he'd collected. His Rue personally raided the treasure vault of the Katat Palace. Seeing that even the Count Palatine was captivated, you could tell they were truly remarkable treasures. Simon suddenly realized the boss shouldn't be acting like Lady Rustica was his. Basically, the Emperor can't just publicly claim a lady who hasn't even revealed her identity yet. It's like Hayden declared war, with guys fighting over Rustica's heart. And naturally, he figured he'd be the last man standing. A 10-day mourning period was announced for the 5 family members who made it back. But even during mourning, the journalists were still doing their thing. They dropped a bombshell about the sudden change of consul in Kalleta. It was obvious to Aldwin that the Perseda Emperor had something to do with it. He saw Hayden dragging Rustica everywhere. The press even said he was using her up. Eliza, though, figured Lady Rustica was a grown woman who could make her own choices. The kid was pissed that all the Emperor did was announce Miss Jeans's firing, and then made Aldwin Rochester the new consul. Rustica made her choice, and His Majesty got it. He couldn't believe this was happening. He knew the girl was different. Rustica's gone, Aldwin's the Kalleta ambassador. So Eliza's mission was clear from the jump. Her target was the shadow that would expose the traitor. The news that Lady Rustica Jeans found the bodies of 5 royal family members? Total shocker. All Eliza needed now was an order from His Majesty. The newspaper headlines reached Rustica too, and Hayden couldn't wait to see her reaction. Thanks to him, she was now a target for everyone in the Kalleta Empire, and couldn't leave the palace. Still, she didn't expect the Emperor to give her such honors for finding the bodies. Right now, though, all the guy cared about was if her bed was comfy and if she liked the food. He'd learned from some lady that you gotta treat guests with kid gloves. Even though Hayden was flush with the cash she got from selling the bear he caught. Remembering that, the girl straight up said she was flat broke now. Her whole life savings were in that cabin in the woods. It was her home. So, the guy decided they were going back to get what was rightfully Rue's. The girls hadn't been gone long, but what they found caught them both totally off guard. The whole cabin looked like some bear broke in, who also knew how to use a freaking door. Looked like they cleaned the place out good. But the girl was more worried about the kids. The woman who taught them to read and write vanished, and then a bunch of nasty dudes barged in and trashed the place. Looks like Rue's already come to terms with her home of several years looking like this. Figuring nobody was around, our girl decided to bail. Hayden didn't follow right away though, deciding to take a quick look around first. Didn't seem like Kalleta had used any magic here, judging by the scene. Carefully walking through the birch grove, Rustica measured each step, trying to find the spot. When she got to a certain tree, she asked Hayden to hand her the shovel. Since the guy just plain forgot, he decided to take on the task of digging up the deeply buried treasure. He wasn't about to dig with his bare hands. He just used the magic powers locked in his hands. And just like that, our girl finally got her gold bars, the ones she missed so damn much. Besides, she traded a couple of those gold bars for precious stones, just in case. There were so few bars. The Emperor couldn't believe they used Rue for that chump change. She didn't have anything else, though not being greedy enough could also be a problem. But the heroine thought of herself as greedy. Nothing could be stronger than wanting to kill the Emperor. On top of that, she dreamed of living with her family, because she hadn't been able to for so long. Truth is, she thought of herself as timid and sensitive, not as awesome as she looked. Still, as a knight, she gave her rations to the starving kid knights and squashed down the envy all around. Turns out, she'd even forgotten she promised not to send him to the battlefield. Looks like the master's the only one who remembers what happened between them. Seeing the disappointment in his eyes, Rustica started making excuses, saying she was just swamped with problems. Maybe she forgot the details, but she still remembers that blonde kid. In that case, Hayden was hoping she remembered some of their conversations too. The truth is, she didn't forget him. She forgot who she used to be. That time when everything was good, it felt so distant, like it never even happened. For a second, Rue thought the curse focused on her head was to blame. Still, she could be as confident and shameless as she wanted in front of Hayden. The important thing is, she remembers everything, and he whined like a baby, which he owes me an apology for. If Rustica keeps looking at him like that, the Emperor promised she'd remember everything. I mean, he doesn't exactly have a forgettable face. They didn't have anything else to do there, so they decided to head back. After everything, Hayden swore he could sneak in and out, but Rue was totally against it. The diplomatic situation was already tense because of her. Despite what she thought, the Emperor still felt he should visit Carlos. Considering the Kalleta Emperor just showed up at the embassy, there's definitely magic involved. Before Hayden could even respond, she just wanted to say they shouldn't make trouble right now. And if war breaks out, Rue won't even get a chance to do her thing. She's been waiting to decapitate Carlos. In that case, the master agreed to start the war after most of the curses are lifted. After their talk, Hayden led her to the garden to give her something. Like he had eyes in the back of his head, he noticed she wanted to say something and told her not to hold back. She thought it was too much, but she finally decided to ask. For ages, she'd been dying to know how old Hayden was, but the question just froze him up. It's been 430 years since the kid's remains came back, and that's when they took him too. They snatched Lord Constant when he was just a kid, 13 years old. When he woke up, he was in the lab Rustica found behind Kalleta's treasure vault. Then, he fell asleep again, like time just stopped. And when he came to, he was standing before the Great Barrier, all geared up as a knight. So 400 years went by with his growth basically paused while he was sleeping. They first met after 8 seasons had passed. Hayden was 15, and Rue was 17. That bastard used people like disposable tools, but their ages weren't right for combat. Still, Rustica couldn't hide how happy she was that her lord survived. It mattered to him what age guys she was into. He could be older, younger, whatever. Hayden just remembered. Once the mourning period ends, there's the funeral. And he wants every member of the Jeans household to be there. Rustica's part of the imperial family now, and as a Jeans, she needs to attend. More importantly, the Emperor just asked her to sit down. He's got a gift for her today, something he made just for her. You can't wear flashy jewelry to a funeral, but pearls are perfect. Plus, Hayden enchanted these earrings. They'll help lift the curse and protect her. Seeing something so beautiful made her face light up with a smile and a blush. Turns out, the Emperor had them custom made with the pearls Rue brought back herself. It's like his way of paying her back for the money she left at the embassy. Hayden was stoked that she liked the earrings, since she'd never had anything like them before. Now that he knew what she was into, he vowed to make sure she had plenty. She could be honest with him. He wanted to know everything she liked. Memories of that wild night came flooding back right then. With another memory to cling to, the Emperor was happy. To avoid ghosting Hayden, she became curious about what else he remembered about her. He remembered everything, even stuff Rustica might have forgotten. After that, the Emperor decided to wrap up the meeting and promised to see her again soon. The pounding of her heart, like a gust of wind, was the only sound Rue heard at that moment. Even nobles from the east and west gathered with the townsfolk on the day of the 5 royal family members' funeral. Rumor had it the Kalleta consul would be there, but nobody knew if it was the current one or the old one. Word on the street was the Kalleta people had completely settled down west, which they saw as vulgar. Unlike the Easterners, all they knew how to do was swing swords, but now they were going to run the whole territory. Silence fell over the hall instantly. His Royal Highness Emperor Perseda Hayden Constant had arrived. At Rustic's funeral, I never suspected the sages would show up for something like this. Both guardians, from the east and the west, were tailing Hayden, even though the nobles were divided. The sages kept on backing him up. Soon the ceremony kicked off. There ain't no pain like remembering the good times when you're grieving. The thin thread between earth and the heavens has snapped. 5 kids gone forever are being sent off for good. May they rest in eternal peace, with everlasting world and God's blessing above them. Rustica was trying to wrap her head around what it's like to lose everyone you've ever known. And after going through hell, you're just trying to survive on your own. The girl couldn't even imagine how much that kind of pain would burn through your heart. Then, at the event, she suddenly heard a voice she recognized. Sir Keiko was happy to see Lady Rustica Falaska again. He'd heard the Western conquest went well, and wanted to know if everything was all right. Suddenly, Eliza interrupted their conversation, and Rue had to cut it short. Turns out, the Emperor was urgently expecting Miss Jeans to arrive, so she had to politely say goodbye, give a bow, and head out. All this time, Hayden was patiently waiting for his chosen woman, deep in thought. Rustica walked in, and boom! His face lit up with this goofy grin, eyes all sparkly. Even though it was Miss Jean's first gig, she was chill, thanks to the Emperor. Hayden always said it, but damn, she looks amazing. Totally stole the show tonight. Whether she was quiet or talking, the girl just oozed class, you know? She was so drop-dead gorgeous. Hayden was having a hard time keeping it together. But they had a place to be, so he asked her to come along. Before she agreed, though, she gave him this look, like something was bugging her. If she was feeling weird around him, the Emperor just wanted her to be straight up. He wasn't really ready to hear it, but he swore he'd do whatever he could to make her comfortable. Rustica wasn't sure if this was the right time for that kind of talk. You know, at a funeral, she still couldn't figure out what the Emperor saw in a regular person like her. Truth was, Hayden always dreamed of marrying his first love. Okay, he wasn't officially proposing yet, and he wasn't about to force Miss Jeans into anything, but the guy wasn't planning on giving up either. Anyway, they needed to get going. They were already making someone wait. The Guardians of the West and East were already expecting them, and Ophelia was super happy to see Rue. But the boss, whose attention was glued to the envoy, was being suspiciously quiet. The way he was staring was making the young lady feel kinda uneasy. Ophelia almost forgot to introduce the Dragon Lord, who'd been protecting the east side of the country for ages. The Lord was happy to meet Miss Jeans and told her to just call him Melpheus. Ophelia remembered all those kids. They were weak from the jump, and the smallest ones, so they died like they just drifted off in the lab. It was a peaceful way to go. Melpheus blamed himself for not being able to use enough power to protect them. All he's been able to do is drag people across the Great Barrier for 400 years. Rustica remembered back then a bunch of people and knights snatched from Kalleta got brought here. She was floored when she heard the Overlord sent 100,000 people to the wall in that time. The girl knew totally different stuff about the ones who came back here to Kalleta. Members of their army who crossed the barrier turned into magical creatures. They even said they started looking like freaking monsters. The hero never even imagined that they weren't magic creatures, but people. No need to sweat it here. Carlos always had a tight grip on his magic and illusions. That's what Hayden figured. And why this barrier's such a pain to break through. Carlos just wanted to be sure no one could ditch the boundaries he set up. Besides, Melpheus knew Miss Jeans was trying to kill two birds with one stone. But Hayden jumped in right away, asking him to spare a moment for the guy they dragged in. And speaking of which, the Emperor asked the Dragon Lord to check out Rustica's curse. Since Melpheus last saw it, the curse has gotten way more refined and intricate. And Carlos has gotten pretty damn good at wielding stolen power. This curse is way more treacherous and brutal than the one slapped on the Tower Mistress. Lady Rustica probably already figured that out, but the Dragon Lord couldn't even touch Ophelia's curse. Carlos the Coward made damn sure Melpheus couldn't break any of the curses he created. The heroine was just curious. She never imagined the truth was something like this. Still, things could be different now, so the Lord risked giving it a shot. With magic, he conjured a flaming dragon and sent it straight at Milady. When the magic flames hit her, Rue lost her footing and collapsed right on top of Hayden. Melpheus couldn't stop him. He couldn't even lift the curse. But he damaged it, weakened it, and that's what mattered. Because the Lord became the Empire's last line of defense, they were able to get this far. Rue believed the cracked curse would break eventually. Thanking the Lord for his attempt, Lady Janis left the hall. So, Melpheus started wondering what Hayden was planning to do with Carlos's heir. The balance of power screwed now, driving them forward, no matter the cost. Ophelia suddenly piped up that they needed to speed up the process of lifting the curse from that traitor's kid. They went through way too much to bring her here. Can't let her die on us now. Hayden was sure that would be a loss for all of them. Anyway, the old man wanted to go back to sleep. No reason for him to be awake with the Emperor around. Even though he was an elder and dreamed of retirement, Hayden planned on working him to death. He had so much on his plate, he might need to wake the master soon. That's why the boss told him not to count on getting any decent sleep. Meanwhile, out of sight, Eliza was waiting for intel on where Milady was staying. Thing is, they hid her well, making it impossible to get close. Nobody knows where Rustica is, and if they do, they ain't talking. All they could do was wait, because they were used to it by now. Rumor had it, the Empire was trying to turn the funeral into a monster-slaving party. That's when Eliza decided to find the traitor, to carry out the Emperor's orders. But until then, the lady, hiding her identity under a hood, decided to retreat and blend into the crowd. Back at the palace, everyone was happy to see Rustica, and a killer breakfast was waiting. She couldn't just grab some bread like always. The master was expecting her today. After bowing, the girl greeted the Empire's son. 'Cause that's what everyone did. But Hayden didn't care what anyone else did, as long as they didn't break imperial law. Or else he was gonna show her what it really means to always be the exception. Over breakfast, she mentioned she used to be totally immobile, but now she's training every day. The curse was just lifted. If she overdoes it like before, Hayden's gonna freak. He seriously hated Rue's approach to things. But then she told him to suggest his own. Since Rue needed to train anyway, he offered to work out alone with her at night. That made Rustica so flustered. She suggested they grab some food first. Always ready to help, Hayden sometimes needed her too, but he wanted to see her all the time. What she meant by need was totally different from what he meant. Miss Jeans meant it in a purely formal sense, but the Emperor, deeply personal. The way Hayden tossed stuff like that off so casually, it was clear he was a player. Even knowing all that, Rue's heart was still pounding like crazy in her chest. Speaking of which, there was one thing she taught him that night. The criteria that pop up when you're picking a romantic partner. The girl was stunned to hear that he actually met a few of her conditions. First off, the lady liked attractive guys, and she'd complimented Hayden more than once. Alcohol made Rue a little more honest, and she said he was good-looking, inside and out. Also, she mentioned that the dude was a good kisser, and she liked making out with him. The guy saved his first time for someone special, but Rue just took it and acted like it was nothing. There's no better way to put it, the lady ghosted him. Anyway, Hayden just hoped she wasn't the type to sleep with just anyone. Thing is, Rustica's already ditched that reckless life, and her answer saved a whole lot of people. The Emperor hated sharing, especially when it came to people. More than anything, he couldn't stand the thought of sharing his woman with another dude. Looks like he really was ready to off anyone who even looked sideways at his girl. And if the heroine was curious, she could always test him. Besides that, Hayden's a pretty open and stand-up guy. Then again, people who call themselves stand-up are pretty weird by Rustica's standards. In that case, the master figured he just didn't do a good enough job that night. From the second they kissed, to the moment they bowed their heads together, Rue kept repeating it over and over, especially when he had his arms around her waist. She kept saying how good it felt. All right, dinner's done. Looks like the Emperor's got to get back to business. Except, he is done with business, and he wants to take things to the next level. Now that the casual stuff's over, Hayden wants to swap gifts and lock down a wedding date. Rustica just doesn't think she's good enough to be some perfect noble lady. That's why the Emperor can't even get mad at her. He wants to be the judge of her flaws himself. If he hasn't proved himself enough already, he promises to try even harder. His gift is a surprise, meant to stop Rue from finding flaws that aren't even there. Looking at the jewelry, she's convinced this thing used to belong to Emperor Kalleta. Hayden says he tinkered with the bracelet, and now she's got a chance to show it off at the banquet. The guy's dreaming of being her partner at the banquet, celebrating the Western Land's conquest. He was pulling out all the stops to prove he was the best damn candidate in all of Perseid. Since the Emperor's blessing would empower her and her family, Rustica was backed into a corner. Still, she absolutely refused to take anything that had belonged to that bastard. Hayden, asking her to trust him, said he'd perfected the bracelet. Knowing Rue's got zero patience, the Emperor had no choice but to pace himself. The curse was strongest on her hand, being the most vital part of her body for magic. That's why our girl's gotta endure having the curse lifted with Carlos's bracelet. It wasn't just Emperor Kalleta's power locked inside, but Hayden's magic too. Little by little, the magic chains started to vanish. Rue was stubborn as hell and hung tough, staring at her hand through her tears. She couldn't believe the curse was fading right before her eyes. That's why Hayden's the one rescuing young Miss Jeans this time. He couldn't just rip all the chains off at once, or he'd tear her fingers, maybe even her whole hand, right off. Even if the boss does everything perfectly, it's still gonna hurt like hell. The pain from just lifting the curse on her finger was so bad, Rue couldn't imagine what her head would feel like. Hayden told her not to hold back the pain, but she was super embarrassed. Besides, she didn't want him touching her lips. She wanted him to use something else. But honestly, Hayden really did like it when Milady wasn't in pain. And of course, he loved spending time with her like this. He was just worried that he came off as weak when they were in Kalleta. At least there. He listened to Rustica and always kept things polite. Since it made her more comfortable, the Emperor was gonna go back to talking to her like that. Right then, Hayden grabs her hand and starts talking like he just stepped out of some high society shindig. He was glad things weren't awkward. Plus, they were already done here. Now, the heroine has to wear the bracelet every day and put on the earrings he gave her. Trying to get the Emperor to stop talking like an idiot, Rustica was sure he hadn't learned it from her. Back in the day, she gave young Hayden bread in exchange for him being good. She took it on herself to protect him from danger and from scarfing down his food too fast. And tomorrow, she promised to give him more bread and milk. Praying every night to his dead mom, Hayden thought Rustica was an angel sent by her. Of course, no angel would teach him how to use a sword that weirdly. This chick always praised his strong foundation, mixing compliments with punishments. But she didn't want Hayden spending the rest of his life paying her back for her help. Rue rescued him when he was at rock bottom, and he was gonna return the favor by being there for her through thick and thin. Suddenly, she felt like crap, and they had to put the conversation on hold. As the Emperor carried her to her room, He reminded her about the upcoming banquet. Even though Rue had never done anything like that, there was nobody better suited to be the Emperor's partner. Weakened, she quickly fell asleep, but Hayden couldn't take his eyes off her for a long time. She'd told him everything, being completely honest with him, and he hoped she was happy in her dreams. That day, while everyone was busy training, Aldwin suddenly decided to take a break. Standing before His Majesty, he had come to greet the eternal son of the Kalleta Empire. By order of the Emperor, the kids spilled that Rustica's, under the protection of the Empire, and the Emperor himself, holed up in Shaley Palace. And get this, there's a fancy banquet coming up, and Lady Rustica's supposed to make an appearance. According to Aldwin, Eliza Barkova's already prepping for the banquet, which is happening in a week. Rustica Janis is gonna meet her maker there, no doubt. Calling off the mission, Carlos decided to handle Rustica himself. Lady Greta's been a lifesaver, or Rue would have had a real tough time getting an outfit together for the banquet. All the satin fabric was bought up, and the other ladies were bummed because they couldn't snag satin dresses. But it's all good for Our Lady, because she's got some special top-shelf fabric being prepped just for her. To go with her pearl accessories, they sewed her a cream-colored dress made of pure silk. Her mom always said that blue fabric was usually used for swearing loyalty. Lady Greta, though, was convinced that cream really brought out her pure and delicate features. The Countess hadn't even noticed how her daughter had grown up and was ready for marriage. Turns out, Father Rue's intuition about this kind of thing was kinda scary accurate. Mom's just trying to say the Emperor is way out of your league. Nobody's ever seen His Majesty show that much interest in anyone during their entire service. Every single thing Rustica's wearing right now, the Emperor gave it to her. The heroine had never even considered what she'd do if he suddenly confessed his feelings. Milan figured her daughter was one of those girls who could make a guy fall head over heels, even if he was blind. It's only natural feelings could develop between them from a young age, but usually it doesn't work like that. Coming from an enemy nation, they needed to live cautiously for several more generations. No matter what they accomplish, they'll never truly get the recognition they deserve. The Emperor's position wasn't ideal. He'd have to marry a suitable woman from the East. Her parents didn't want to force their daughter into a marriage for profit, but they wanted Rustica to meet someone who would understand and support her. Lack of strong support from the bride's parents would be a weakness. Milan just wanted her daughter to experience happiness, forgetting the suffering and tears. And she was in a position where she couldn't even hold her own kid properly. Rue could have married a high-status guy for money, but Mom didn't think she was that type. Earning money through blood, sweat, and tears, neither mother nor father expected Rustica to bring money home. They just didn't want others pointing fingers at their precious daughter. Memories and feelings are important, sure, but sometimes you gotta let that stuff go for a while. This was just a fling, something that was supposed to end. The heroine knew it, and she was ready to break things off between them. So why the hell did it hurt so much inside, like it left a scar? Now that there was nothing to worry about, Rue knew everything too, and she didn't want to burden her folks. She hated losing Hayden, but she couldn't turn her back on the family she'd just reunited with. Tears streamed down her face. A thank you and an apology for leaving him behind. Soon, Aldwin reported the Emperor's orders, telling Elise not to kill Rustica, just to keep an eye on her. And don't forget to keep tabs on the rumors, because plans can brew in those dirty back alleys. In one of the bars, some guys were talking smack about the Emperor putting cops near the palace. People here talk about the Emperor like he's just another dish they had for lunch. If a real man with some class was running things right, they wouldn't dare. This country's Emperor ain't worthy of Eliza, not by a long shot. Lately, everyone's noticed even the street kids are eating good, thanks to that hospital at the Ministry of Labor. No matter how much the nobles whine, the working class loves this new Emperor. Eliza realized this Emperor was desperate enough to actually care about what the slum dwellers think. The day of Countess Hayden's debutante ball, he showed up way too early, before she was even dressed. He just wanted to get it over with and wait for her, like they're some perfect happy couple. Rustica then rushed headlong into the chambers to get dressed as quickly as possible. But the servants decided to take their sweet time and start with the petticoat. We decided to match the ribbon around her waist to the color of her eyes. Seeing as Rue's partner would be the Emperor, a full skirt was the most fitting choice. In a cream dress with green ribbons that highlighted her eyes, Rustica looked absolutely stunning. Lady Greta finished faster than Hayden expected, so he promised to reward her. It's a great honor for him to be the partner of such a beautiful Rustica this evening. Before arriving, the Emperor ordered the girl to wait in another room and come in a little later. When Emperor Hayden entered the palace, Simon introduced the son of the Empire, and the knights bowed their heads. Seeing him, Rustica lowered her head in confusion as a sign of respect. However, the Emperor immediately told her to relax and use her head. Unable to resist, Hayden was captivated by the girl's beauty and grabbed her forcefully. They had to part ways for a while, so the Emperor ordered the guards to keep the lady safe. Right after that, he told Simon to get a report ready ASAP. Looks like that collection embassy is still digging for dirt on us. Plus, we found traces that Aldwin secretly visited Katat, and Eliza was sniffing around in the back alleys. The monster situation in the north and west is quiet, which is pretty normal. If things get hairy, the Emperor threatened to just wipe out the west and north. Most of Kalleta is useless land anyway, so Carlos snatched up the south and central regions. Turns out, every single noble showed up to the banquet. The Emperor was almost touched by their loyalty. They deserved a pat on the back. Time to finally introduce everyone to the son of the thriving Persetan Empire. His Majesty the Emperor has arrived. Thanks to the Emperor's hard work, they'll actually get a real social season this year. Taking his throne, Hayden really hoped everyone would have a good time. Looking at the guests' faces, seeing zero joy in their eyes, the guy didn't change his mind. The ball's starting, even if they all look totally bummed out. You'd think everyone would be stoked at a victory celebration like this. The Emperor busted his ass, going all out to wipe out those monsters for the nation's safety. But now, he's seriously annoyed that everyone around him seems so miserable. The Lord and Lady were stunned, totally lost for words about how much they owed His Majesty. This is way lamer than Hayden thought it'd be. He was hoping for something more interesting. Simon said there's something His Majesty needs to check out himself. Turns out, Lady Rustica Janis, the one who recovered the royal kid's remains, cooked up a little something for the boss. Drums roll, and in walks Miss Janis into the throne room, holding a massive tray. For her daughter's sake, Countess Milan was praying this was just a passing crush. Head bowed, the girl was about to greet the son of the Empire, but Hayden told her to skip the formalities. Figures, right? Emperor straight up refused to acknowledge the greeting from a nobody family, and in front of everyone. Simon was trying like hell to give him a hint, like, dude, chill with the obvious shade. Lady Rustica has brought a sacred symbol, something that rightfully belongs to His Majesty. It was thought lost for good, but the lady's bummed, because it's not all there. She figured even some pieces of it could boost the Emperor's and Perseta's reputation. It's Perseta's treasure, the stuff Carlos Ingram swiped from the royal vaults 430 years ago. The way they shimmered, there was no doubt in anyone's mind they were the real deal. Rustica was stoked to get back these two regalia, the scepter and orb, symbols of the Emperor's power. But there were still two other key symbols of the imperial crown out there, the crown itself and the sword. Even so, finding these two lost symbols of the Emperor was still a huge win. Hayden was being handed the most precious treasures of the imperial family, and he couldn't just take them for granted. So, he was ready to do whatever Miss Janis wanted. There wasn't anything Rustica wanted in return right now, so she just asked the Emperor to remember this meeting. Maybe someday she'd decide to ask His Majesty for a favor. If she ever got the chance, she wanted the honor of personally beheading Carlos Ingram. Just as he figured, the daughter of the Earl and Countess Fellas was a true knight. Since that wasn't in the script, Hayden was praying she'd take it back. He straight up said it was messed up to talk about going to war with Kalleta right now. If the Kalletan Emperor puts this land in danger, Rustica's ready to hit the front lines herself. The Countess couldn't believe her daughter was asking the Emperor to chop Carlos's head off. Just that answer alone takes some of the heat off the Janis family, being from Kalleta and all. So, Hayden figured they were trying to use his power for something that might not even happen. It was a dream not just for Rue, but her whole family who escaped Kalleta, and she wanted it real bad. If it was easy to get, it wouldn't be a freaking wish. But the Emperor promised, if the day comes, he'd give Lady Rustica that right. Hayden just couldn't shake the feeling he was getting passed over because of that damn Carlos. If it weren't for Rue's curse, he'd have lopped his head off right then and there. Killing that bastard Carlos, Hayden was dreaming of filling Lady Rustica's head with nothing but him. When the ball kicked off, everyone was betting on who His Majesty would dance with. Some figured he might just say he wasn't feeling the whole banquet thing. The ladies were convinced that after he crushed that monster wave, marriage talks were a lock. His Majesty couldn't leave the Empress's spot open forever, not with his skills. But us folks from the West? It's not really our problem. The smart money's on one of the daughters from the Eastern Noble Alliance, the Almson Coalition. They're after fertile lands, and even got their greedy eyes on the imperial throne. Another contender was Duke Alanka's daughter, Katerina Lambert. She showed up to the ball with her brother, Duke Alance's oldest son, Count Elsh, who goes by Manuel Lambert. In the crowd, Katerina suddenly spotted Marquis Sven's daughter, Sven Yvonne. Lady Lambert wasn't even sure the Emperor would dance at all tonight. Word is, ain't nobody can make a dude who's on the front lines fighting monsters do anything he doesn't want to. Besides Katerina, there were over 20 noble ladies from the Almson Coalition in the ballroom, which is why her brother wanted her to try even harder to get a dance with the Emperor. The lady figured His Majesty was looking to see the Eastern nobility fight it out for a spot by his side. The whole time the music was playing, the Emperor was waiting for his lady, but Rustica was already late. After letting them know what she wanted, the girl figured she'd done her part. But it was just state business keeping them from getting some alone time. None of that mattered, because Hayden was ready to ask Miss Jeans to dance, right then and there. Just a dance, a gesture to honor the guy who put this whole thing together. On the dance floor, they became one. Their bodies, extensions of each other, telling a love story. Back in Calais, girls like her only got assigned to watch over the ladies who danced like this. It wasn't all bad, because sometimes she wished she could dress up and dance too. But Hayden noticed that, even in his arms, she was thinking about someone else. He wanted Miss Jeans to only think about him while they danced, and he instantly remembered her request. It hit him for the first time that Rue trusted him, and he couldn't believe she needed public reassurance. She was sharp and knew His Majesty wouldn't be able to say no. Hayden himself wanted to tear that bastard to pieces. He often imagined his suffering, and when it was all over, he said she could take Carlos's head, no questions asked. But if she had her way, Rue'd rather be addressed as a noble, not just a woman. The Emperor already promised her something in public, so he wanted something personal in return. But Milady just brushed it off like it was nothing, even though she totally disagreed. So, if everything went according to plan, the Emperor wanted something in exchange. But first, he wanted to know what Miss Jeans would wish for if all the mess hadn't happened. Rue didn't want anything more than what the Emperor promised. She dreamed of family, and Hayden gave her that. Sadly, that wasn't a lie, and that's why the guy hated that bastard. Carlos took up so much space in Lady Rustica's head that there was no room left for Hayden. Truth is, there might have been something else, a desire other than revenge. Something so valuable, Rue hid it deep down inside herself. Something that can never ever be brought out into the open. Soon, the Earl was just happy to see his daughter whole again, safe, and not any thinner. Meanwhile, Elin was showing off her skills at a social gathering. Rue had always wanted to see her parents, and now that it happened, she didn't need anything else. Ethan, however, was stumped how a young girl could want for nothing. Suddenly, the Earl noticed some people. He hadn't been this pleased to see them in ages. According to one gentleman, today's celebration was a truly joyous occasion for the Janis house. The Earl's daughter accomplished something incredible, so the gentleman wanted to personally greet her. But her father declared she deserved to rest today. She'd really pushed herself. Turns out, Rue didn't bring anything that'd enrich the national treasure. Ethan was left with a bad taste in his mouth after talking to those guys. But then, the Viscountess Panem cheered him up real quick when she showed up with her son, Nicholas. Nicholas Stewart was super polite and gave Miss Jeans a warm welcome. The guy knew an opportunity when he saw one and asked her to dance. He was 1,000 times better than those nobles, all hinting at marriage and dancing for show. Nicholas had only ever read about the imperial family's symbols in history books. Dancing with him was easy. Unlike when Rue danced with Hayden, she was always so nervous. A beautiful lady like that, plus she brought great treasures? Dude couldn't hide his admiration. Watching them, Hayden decided he needed to find another way to get rid of those monster corpses. Their dance was a mess. Nicholas wasn't exactly a pro, and he kept stepping on her toes. Back then, she thought Hayden had everything covered when they danced. Dancing with the Emperor was smooth sailing. Any mistakes were all her nerves. Shoving him out of her head, she decided to focus on the guy right in front of her. After all, His Majesty was just the guy she worked for. The dance wrapped up quick, and Miss Janice was left all alone again. She couldn't stop wondering if Hayden was even watching her. She shouldn't be thinking about him at all. She promised to forget him, remember? Just like he said, her dad brought her fresh orange juice. He'd do anything for his girl. She was tired of thinking she might end up alone if every guy was like Hayden. Now wasn't exactly the time to be thinking about guys. Not when revenge was her main goal. The second she finally shook the Emperor out of her head, bam! She noticed the Empire's son again. Just like everyone figured, he was a total babe magnet for all the high society ladies. Real talk, Rustica knew Hayden couldn't have eyes for just her. Her dad kinda took her mind off things. Turns out the guy's a killer dancer. Count Ethan was good at everything, so his standards for dudes were sky high. Truth is, Rue really missed him, and her dad was stoked she was finally back home. The Count's daughter was a total lady now. She looked amazing, and that dress was fire. She never realized how much people gossiped during dances, until she met the Baron, who stepped on her dress. Everyone's worried about how they look to others in public, so they used the dance floor for private chats. The Count was gonna take his daughter home today, but then he asked her to calm her sisters down. Rue's feat in Belfort impressed them, and now they want to become knights. The little one just needed time, because they're still just kids, you know? Ethan remembered Rustica was the same way when she was little. She completely forgot she broke her leg when she was 8. Fell off a horse trying to be like her mom. Time to chill. This place is perfect. Tons of guards. But what she saw made our girl realize that even His Majesty couldn't ignore the Alsman coalition. Of course, that's exactly why he was dancing with Duchess Alanka. She's got major pull in the east. Later that evening, Sir Ethan ran into an old buddy at the ball. Sir Manuel heard the man had a rough time with those monsters. Rustica introduced herself all friendly-like to Manuel Lambert. Right then, Count Elsh locked eyes with the Emperor, who was totally watching them. Figuring the lady was done with the greetings, Manuel said his goodbyes. Late that night, before leaving, Mom told Rustica to write 3 times a day. No need for a big send-off. The girl wouldn't relax till her folks were gone anyway. Soon the carriage took off, and our girl was lost in her own head. She was obsessed with one thing. Hayden was the reason for her nightmares and constant worrying. But suddenly, the carriage screeched to a halt, and Miss Jeans almost ate dirt from the jolt. Just then, she felt someone grab her arm, hard, and yank her forward. With no strength to fight back, Rustica slammed onto the ground, feeling totally weak. But when she finally mustered the strength to look her enemy in the eye, she saw her death staring back. The very man whose head she dreamt of lopping off was finally giving her the chance.